2631. 888-465-2631. And not only have we pretty much bankrupted Iran, their government's about to not just collapse, they're really going tribal. And President Trump has given them every opportunity to do the right thing. So when he comes out and says, well, they didn't show up, they won't agree to anything, we're going to bomb all this stuff, the power plants, the bridges, the world will see that President Trump gave Iran every opportunity to do the right thing, and they didn't, which gives him the support that he needs in the bombing campaigns that are about to come. So everything's falling apart for them. Let me go through this story. This is in the New York Post. Hold on, let me pull this up. Islamic Guard takes full control of Iran, sidelines moderates. Now, the moderates are still nutbags, and the Islamic Guard, of course, is the Revolutionary Guard. New York Post reporting, Iran's hardline Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps leader has taken control of Tehran's military and negotiation team over the weekend. Major General Ahmed Vahadi and members of his inner circle. Now, again, 6 weeks ago, these guys were so far down the list of command, they didn't have authority over anything, have taken charge of the Islamic Republic, as evident by Iran's attacks on ships trying to sail through the Strait of Hormuz and Tehran's refusal to join the peace talks. This is great. Do you think Trump trusted the Iranians' signature on a piece of paper that they would agree to something? The sudden shift to a hardline stance also shows that more moderate members of Iran's leadership, including the foreign affairs minister, have been sidelined. They're probably dead, at least some of them. The foreign minister had initially agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend after reaching a consensus with the Trump administration. But the Revolutionary Guard demanded it remain shut in the face of the American blockade of Iranian ports. The Revolutionary Guard Major General who's taken over, Vahadi, received the backing of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, whatever is left of that, because we killed all of those guys too. He has been given the authority as the head of the Revolutionary Guard to control the Strait of Hormuz. The Revolutionary Guard's fast attack ships remain Iran's main form of naval force. What are those, speedboats? In the key waterway after U.S.-Israeli strikes sunk more than 150 vessels of Tehran's conventional navy. Iran had attacked at least 3 ships trying to get through the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend, signaling that the oil choke point remains closed off as hundreds of ships are still stuck in the Persian Gulf. The Revolutionary Guard general is tapping allies inside Iran to join him and then have a meeting where they are going to meet with whoever our negotiating team is and try to lay down the law. Yeah, and let's see, there's some more here. Let's see if it's worth talking about. The foreign minister sent a complaint to Revolutionary Guard leaders, and then that put in place what happened here. So there's total chaos inside Iran. They've had another regime change from within. So what's happened here is the Revolutionary Guard, which is a political army, they've led a coup against what's left of the civilian government. There's been a military coup. And, the problem that the military have with their military coup in Iran is they really don't have much of a military left. You look at what's happening here. This will go down in the history books as the most ingenious war plans this country has ever been involved in, led by President Trump, Pete Hegseth, and, of course, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane. Great people. Now, I'd very much like to hear your thoughts on this Monday morning as the week begins. The number is toll-free, and it's pinned in the live chat if you're watching live, 888-465-2631. This is the pre-show. The radio show doesn't start for about 20, 30 minutes. So this is the pre-show, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, I'm Lee calling out of Michigan.
Hey, Michigan.
Yo, I know you're a Trump fan, so I'm wondering.
Absolutely.
When you're looking at the war in Iran, does it bother you that he's already moved on to Cuba?
He hasn't moved on to Cuba.
They're already in talks.
When you say talking, we've been, talking, and we've cut off their oil. No, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
You don't think that they should be worried about finishing up with Iran first?
Well, we've won the war with Iran. You understand that, right? We've defeated Iran. We defeated them weeks ago and won the war. You're aware of that, correct?
Well, how are you measuring victory?
What I've been talking about for the last, 10 minutes or so. There's been a regime change within Iran. This is about the fourth or fifth regime change in the last 6 weeks. Their entire military has been destroyed. The country is on the verge of economic collapse, okay? President Trump has transferred the oil business from Iran to the United States, our friends in Venezuela as well, and we're putting them out of business. And it's also a big blow to China, too, because their oil supplies are being cut off. So, so we've won the war. And talking to Cuba, all they're doing with Cuba is talking to them about having the communist regime step down. Don't you think that's a good thing to liberate the people of Cuba from communist tyranny?
Well, this is what I think. I feel like okay, you already have the conflict in Iran. It's not buttoned up. Whether we won or not, it's not buttoned up yet, and it's already got some things.
Sure it is. Sure it is. So you see some scenario where Iran regroups and has a comeback? How would that work?
I mean,
they're done.
They said the same thing about Ukraine and Russia.
We're not in that war. No. President Trump never said that's not our war.
They said the same thing.
Who said that?
Hasn't been buttoned up yet.
Well, that's not our war. Those are other countries. That's not our war.
I mean, really, is it not our war?
No.
I mean, we're not in the theater.
Nope.
We're in the theater.
No, we're not in the theater. We're not in Iran. No, we are not in Ukraine.
We're not troops. I'm sure we have drones over there.
We've given them some old, out-of-date weapons. The new modern ones are the ones we've used to decimate Iran.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
let me ask you. You're African American, right?
Yeah.
You know the majority population of Cuba is black, descendant of slaves from the sugar plantations of years ago. And, here you have a population of millions of blacks in Cuba who have no leadership. The Hispanic run Cuba. The black Cubans, they have no role or say in the government. They're living under extreme poverty and oppression. Well, President Trump's about to liberate millions of blacks in Cuba. As a black man in America, you should be excited about that.
Well, the funny thing about that is, you talk to some of those black Cubans, they don't consider themselves black. So
when's the last time you talked to a black Cuban in Cuba?
When's the last time I talked to a black Cuban?
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to a black Cuban before.
When? Really?
And you can go online. You can go on YouTube and see.
They don't consider themselves what? What do they not consider themselves?
They don't. A lot of black Cubans that are like darker skinned don't consider themselves black.
Well, not all dark Cubans are black. There's some Cubans that are Hispanic descent that are dark and are not black. Okay, but there are a lot of black Cubans. And whether or not this one guy that you claim to have talked to doesn't say he's black, there are still millions of blacks in Cuba living under oppression.
Right, but one thing white folks don't understand is that there's a lot of like differences within the black communities, like that are. It's not just one blanket thing. Like,
oh my goodness,
there's tons of Hispanic blacks that don't consider themselves black.
So what? So is it a good thing to free the enslaved black Cubans? President Trump and Marco Rubio want to free the enslaved Black Cubans. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? They're living in slavery.
I feel like people should be free, but I don't know. It doesn't help to free somebody and then put them in bondage in another way.
How would
Trump isn't gonna stand for, being free and then not doing what he says.
I don't know what you're saying. Cuba is a prison.
I can explain
Cuba, no, hold on. Cuba is a prison. No one in Cuba is free. They're all prisoners. They have no vote. They have no freedoms at all, and they live in extreme poverty. Everyone. Right?
That's the same thing that's happening in Palestine.
Palestine?
It's the same thing happening in Palestine. They have no freedom. They have no nothing.
Where's Palestine?
Like
what do you mean Palestine?
Where's Palestine?
Yeah.
It's in the Gaza Strip.
The Gaza Strip has been freed and liberated. President Trump has put together the Peace Council. They're rebuilding Gaza, where it'll be self-governing and live free. That's one of the reasons that he's removing Iran from the picture, because Iran are the ones that are responsible for all those wars in Gaza with Israel. The Palestinian people are going to live free, prosperous lives because of President Trump.
I don't see it that way, man. I hear what you're saying.
You don't want to accept the truth.
Even in Iran, remember Trump said, "I'm here to free the people."
Mm-hmm.
But when he came in and started bombing and everything, and he's like, "If they don't do what I say that they're going to do with the oil and stuff, I will send them back generations."
Yeah.
So so that's not freedom. That's just
he has not bombed. He hasn't bombed civilians. He's bombed military targets.
He's bombed some schools and some.
No, he did not bomb schools and hospitals. We did not bomb schools. The United States did not bomb schools and hospitals. Why would we do that?
Because it's war.
No, we don't bomb schools and hospitals. We have not bombed schools and hospitals. Nope. We have not bombed schools and hospitals in Iran.
I guess we can disagree on that, but
no, there's no agreement or disagreement. It has not happened. It has not happened.
It's happened in every war.
No, if we were bombing schools and hospitals, the Iranians would have mass funerals with all the children on television to show everybody what a terrible person Donald Trump is. We haven't seen that. We haven't bombed schools or hospitals.
We wouldn't be able to it'd be hard to get journalists in there right now anyway.
They have news in there. Iranian news would have a mass funeral with all these children and hospital patients that were bombed. We have not bombed schools. We have not bombed hospitals.
Right, but I'm saying no. There wouldn't.
Why do you have such a negative opinion of the greatest country in the world, the United States? You think
I don't have a negative opinion.
Sure. You say that we bomb children and schools and sick people in hospitals.
I'll tell you.
You think we're murderers?
No, I'll tell you why. Because I know for a fact Reagan brought in drugs into the Black community.
Really? How do you know that? Reagan did that.
For people to do that.
How did Ronald Reagan bring drugs? Why would Ronald Reagan bring drugs into the Black community?
To make money.
Ronald Reagan made money off drugs?
His constituents and Ronald
His
Reagan.
Constituents?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like senators.
Really? Who made money off who made money off drugs? What senator made money off drugs?
I'll put it to you like this. This is because I don't know the exact senators, but what I'm saying is that it was allowed to come into the country. You can't.
Well, if that's your big okay. Well, slow down a second here. Okay, no. If you believe,
you're not gonna let me finish my
finish your wackadoodle thought, then I'll.
Okay, so no Black people in the hood was able to go to Cuba and bring drugs in through customs and everything. The government had to allow that to happen.
Okay. See, if everything you said, was true about Ronald Reagan, it's just for the discussion. Let's just say it's true. You should support Trump because President Trump shut down the drug trafficking into this country. months ago when he shut down the border and took out Maduro. So you should be very happy. Hold on. You should be very happy that President Trump has shut down the illegal drugs coming into not just the black community, but all American communities. So you support Trump's efforts to stop what you think Reagan started.
Okay, what I would say about that is I've always wondered, I'm like, we're going over Afghanistan to stop terrorists. We're always complaining about immigrants coming from Southern America and Mexico. Why don't we go down there and fuck with them?
Well, President Trump has. President Trump has.
Well, I'm saying that's one thing I will commend Trump on, is that why he's the first one to actually address the situation as far as that goes down there. I will give him credit for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you support. So you support what Trump has done, stopping the flow of illegal drugs into the United States, and that's good. Well, so he did something good. You're MAGA. I just red pilled you. You're MAGA now.
No, I'm saying I don't know what you red pilled me or not, but I'm just saying what I've noticed and what I said I like.
Yeah. Well, that's a good
saying, like, I don't think it's a blanket statement that because he did that, he's perfectly saving people. I don't.
Sure. He's shut down. You know, he has shut down the drug cartels from bringing. They try to come in by boat. He blows up the boat. He shut down the southern border and the drug trafficking at the southern border. You know, the flow of illegal drugs coming into the country has dropped by over 90%.
I can still go buy drugs if I wanted to.
Yeah, but
so he didn't shut it down.
No. There's always going to be but what's the price of illegal drugs now compared to a year ago? I promise you, there's been massive inflation.
I have no idea. I don't do drugs.
Well, you told me that you're very upset that 45 years ago Reagan started the drug trafficking into the country. Well, President Trump stopped it.
I wouldn't say he stopped it. He's making strides.
Well, he cut it off, but he shut it down by about 90%. About 90%.
No, there's still tons of drugs. There's still tons.
Not
of
as
drugs
many. No, not as many. You know, you can't smuggle in drugs like you could. That doesn't mean.
So you're saying all the drugs came from Venezuela? That's not true.
No, he shut down a lot. Not just Venezuela. Most of it was coming in through the southern border. A lot of it was coming in by sea and air. He has shut almost all of that down. He also stopped. Stopped China from smuggling fentanyl into the United States, which was the crack of this modern era.
Well, I would have been more happy with Trump if he was stuck to what he had wished.
No, you'll never be happy with Trump because you've been programmed not to like him. Let me ask you. You're in Michigan. Why did you vote for Kamala Harris?
Well, just let me finish my thought. And I'll get to that. But I'm saying, like, when as far as him stopping the drug flow from the borders, it mainly comes in through sea and air anyway.
Haven't you seen the drug? He blows up the drug boats all the time.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're drug boats. I would have to just believe
they're drug boats. You know what I'm saying? So why'd you vote for Kamala Harris?
Okay, this is why. All right, I'll tell you why. If I had a daughter and she wanted to be a lawyer, it would be her career. Now, if she sucked her dick, I don't know if she sucked dick to get to where she was, mother.
Who, Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris? What do you think? Yeah, for you to even say that, what do you think? What do you think?
I think like she went to some good colleges and she had a pathway to what she got. If I had a daughter, if you had a daughter, you would love.
I have a daughter.
That pathway.
I have a daughter.
Do you love? You would teach her to take the pathway of Kamala Harris.
No, I would not. What, hanging out in clubs?
God, now you're lying.
No.
You wouldn't want her to go to accredited colleges.
Kamala Harris went to a racially segregated university. She went to a black college. What? She went to a black college.
Okay, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Can I say something about that? I have a younger brother that went to Morehouse.
Yeah.
And he has a friend that's white that went to Morehouse.
Well, they have to allow a certain number of whites in because of federal funding, but they're black colleges.
No, they don't. What I'm saying is he got a minority scholarship. That's why.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you want a good education,
she went to Howard University.
He went to Morehouse.
And then Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris came up through the ranks. She started she had an affair with a married man, Willie Brown, the mayor of San Francisco.
Okay, can you acknowledge?
I wouldn't want my daughter to do that.
Did you acknowledge the fact that a white man got a minority scholarship at a black college, and that's
of course they do. Yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good thing.
No,
what I'm saying is, if white people took advantage of.
No, you gave me a very honest answer as to how you think Kamala Harris made it where she was, and then you realize what you said, and you're trying to pivot to other things.
Why I voted?
No, you said she got where she was by having sex with important men and powerful men.
No, I said they said that. They say that. I don't know.
Well, why do you think they say that? Why do you think they say that?
Because I mean, I have yet to see a minority or a woman that's been in an office that hasn't been vilified in some way, shape, or form.
Everyone in public office gets vilified. Look at President Trump. He's a man, and he's vilified every day for 12 years.
So, I mean, you're telling me not to validate the vilification of him. So, I mean, I agree with that. Like everyone that's in that position,
Kamala Harris got her first. She got her first statewide position from an appointment from her sugar daddy. Willie Brown was her sugar daddy. He gave her a big job and bought her a brand new BMW.
You know what you can't take away from her?
That she lost to Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be that proud of that. But Jeb Bush, all the people that were supposed to trample Trump eviscerated them.
That's cool. That's right. Trump's awesome.
And I remember that. Kamala, though, was the only one that kind of stood up to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did. Stood up. She got whooped. Are you new to my program, by the way? Are you new to my program?
Yeah.
Well, welcome. You're a very good caller. Make sure you subscribe and call me again sometime.
All right, cool. You have a good night.
All right, take care. It's the morning. Now, you may have noticed he used some salty language. That's because this is the pre-show. The radio show hasn't started yet. So, you can use some salty language then. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Brian. How you doing? My name is John. I'm calling from Breeding, Kentucky.
All right. Can you pick up the phone and not be on the speaker? It's just echoing, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Sorry about that.
Okay. Go ahead. You're up.
Yes, sir. Is that better?
Yep.
All right, great. So I'm calling this morning to... I heard the earlier caller talking about Trump and, Cuba and that kind of thing. And I'm thankful for him that God has raised him up. And, God has raised up every leader in this country to either guide it or spank it. And we, I believe we are in need of a dire correction in our country. So my call is regarding Trump's religion. And I understand that many people say he's a Christian.
Yeah, he is.
Do you think that's true? Or
I know it's true. He said he's a Christian.
It's true.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, sure. I know he's a Christian. Yeah, sure. He's a Christian.
Now, Brian, do you think everybody that says they're a Christian are Christians?
Yeah, it's a lot of people, but there's probably some liars out there. But what makes you say he's not? What makes you say he's not?
Well, some of the fruit I'm concerned about in his
some of the fruit
and the things he says.
Really? Give me the most recent thing. Give me the most recent thing. Give me the most recent thing that he said or done that makes you think he's not a Christian.
Well, I understand, like I was saying, that the things that we're being told, he said.
Be specific.
So, because I don't have firsthand experience with the president, I don't know that all these things are true.
Well, all right, just give me one.
Some of the things that I understand that he said recently is about the LGBTQ crowd.
What about the gays? What about the gays?
Of them, that he's approving of them.
Yeah.
Their lifestyle. Would you agree with that?
Does he approve of gay sex? I don't know what you mean.
Sodomy, yeah, the thing that puts
Well,
Sodom and Gomorrah in danger of God's judgment.
it's a very interesting thing because I'm assuming you consider yourself to be a Christian, and all this judging
Yes, sir.
about other people, I find to be a little out of touch with Christianity. You deciding who's what are you, some Inquisition, some Kentucky Inquisition?
Well, no, I'm not.
What was it that
I'm not
Jesus
doing
said
an
about what was it?
inquisition.
What was
I
it
am
that?
doing an
Hold, no,
inquiry.
hold on a
If I
second.
may.
Hold on. No. No, you may not. No, you may not. No, you may not. It's my turn now. No, you said your piece. You know what was it? What was it?
Judging. I'm trying to answer
What
that.
was it Jesus said about casting the first stone, Mr. Christian?
Well, right after he said, "Don't cast the first stone," or "Don't cast a stone," he told the woman that was caught in adultery to go and sin no more.
No, but what did he say to the crowd? What did he say? No. Excuse me. No. I didn't. I'm not asking you what else he said. What did he say? What did he say to the? Excuse me. Excuse me. What did he say to the crowd?
Okay.
What did he say to the crowd that were stoned? What did he say to the crowd that wanted to stone the woman?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What did he say?
That's the passage I'm talking about.
Well, what did he say, Mr. Christian?
He said,
Brian, are you sure you're a Christian?
He said, I'm trying to answer, Brian. I'm trying to answer. Okay, so
Fine times.
He told them, he wrote in the dirt, wrote in the sand, and they left one by one.
What did he say? What did he say? Spit it out.
And he turns to the woman.
No, all right, goodbye. He doesn't know. He's buying time. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's see here. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. I tell you, that guy. You know, if you're going to parade around as being Mr. Christian and deciding who is a Christian and who's not a Christian, you should know a little bit some of the basics about Christianity. You know, there's been a big move. It's so interesting how the left move, and the seminar callers, most seminar callers are out of Kentucky, aren't they? All right, let's go. You're on the air. Watch us speak Kentucky again. You're on the air. Oh, hold on. All right, 1 second. Let me put everybody on hold. Hold on a second here. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Chuck, calling from Oklahoma.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, I just think that it's important to remember that back in 1992, that there was a gentleman named Perry Caravello who was in a movie called Windy City Heat. And it became clear during the filming of this movie that in order to get 3 SAG vouchers, that Perry Caravello gave a man named Randy Callahan a hand job.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I don't know what that has to do with anything we're talking about. Okay. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Boston, Louisiana.
All right, Louisiana.
You were talking about, I think you were talking about Christ when he was writing something.
No. A guy from Kentucky claiming to be a Bible-believing true Christian was he has put together his own Kentucky Inquisition, deciding who is Christian and who is not. And he was saying that President Trump is not a Christian. And he gave an example that he is in support of LGBTQ, whatever. And we were having a discussion about that. But anyway, what's on your mind?
Oh, yeah, my bad.
That's okay.
Christ, I believe that Trump has said that he's for Christ.
Yeah, he is a Christian. He is a Christian. Yes.
When Jesus was in the wilderness or in the desert, they had 4 or 5 people confront him over a woman, maybe, or something. And they said that she was a whore. Excuse my language. Not cursing. But that's what they said about her. And what I believe he wrote, and it's not written in the Bible, but what I believe he wrote in the sand that day, he wrote all their sins down. And They knew. That's why they walked away. Because they knew that he knew.
Mm.
That's what I believe. Process of elimination.
What he said, what he said was, and I looked at, because I wanted to get the right passage. It's John 8:1 through 11. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone. Okay. You know, and you know, and there's some other versions of that say the same thing depending on which Bible version you're reading. But that's you know, but President Trump wanted, you know, the guy said he's not a Christian, he supports LGBTQ plus and all this stuff. President Trump has been one of the biggest vocalizers opposing what the gays have been doing with the sports and everything. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, listen, I gotta run. Okay, take care. Okay, we're less than 30 seconds away from the radio show starting. All right, so if you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, of course. Let's see here. Okay, we've got 20 seconds, and the radio show will begin. Stand by. The last 37 minutes have been the pre-show. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and you are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Welcome, one and all. We've got a lot to cover today. I'm going to get into the latest on the war in Iran, which President Trump is handling so beautifully. We're going to break all that down and explain to you how everything is going according to the Trump plan. Laura Loomer is working overtime, exposing Candace Owens. We're going to go through that and a whole bunch more and take your calls. But I wanted to share, I had such a strange occurrence on Saturday I wanted to share with you. Saturday night, early in the evening, like around 6, 7 o'clock at night, I'm down at Hollywood Beach at the Broad Walk on Hollywood Beach. Any of you guys go to the Broad Walk on Hollywood Beach? It's really nice. It's not too bad down there. And I saw not one but two transgendered biological men living the life of womanhood. And you could tell a mile away. I mean, it was almost a joke. I mean, one of them looked like Herman Munster. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? And the reason I was down at the Hollywood Broad Walk, my daughter was in Los Angeles and flew back home on Saturday, and I was making a YouTube video for one of my YouTube channels that I have. And so I was there because the Hollywood Broad Walk is down the street from the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. And I saw, and it was so bizarre. Now, I have seen biological men dressed as women in my life, but years ago, how often would you see someone like that out in public on a normal day? In particular, at the beach wearing a bikini top. That was hilarious. Maybe once in a lifetime. That was like a once in a lifetime experience. So I see these two transgendered biological males in women's clothing, one in a bikini top at the Hollywood Broad Walk. And then I go to the airport and I'm waiting for my daughter at the baggage claim. And this couple, this was so bizarre. This couple they're walking towards me to get to the baggage claim. And I was like, this was unbelievable. They looked to be a married couple because they were holding hands, and they were kind of like country western people. The man, and I know he was a biological man because he had a full mustache. He had a full mustache, but was wearing cowgirl clothes and fancy cowgirl clothes. He had on a cowgirl dress a cowgirl hat and cowgirl blouse, right? I mean, right out of like Griff's Western wear. I mean, like top shelf, very expensive, wearing a dress with women's cowboy boot or cowgirl boots, I guess you would say. The full length cowgirl dress with all the silver belts and everything hanging down, and everything else. And in the course of an hour, I come into contact with 3 transgendered people, right? Biological men. And what are the odds that that's organic and real and natural? What's going on here? And then there's someone I watch online that has an online show, this husband and wife that have a YouTube channel that I've watched for years. I even met them once at an event, and the husband just came out as trans. He and his wife are getting divorced, and now he dresses like a woman, and he has long painted nails and everything else. But Saturday night, within about an hour, I encountered 3 biological men living their lives as women. I mean, come on. Is this real? Are these really transgendered people? And by the way, 2 of them were with women, and they look like couples to me. Okay, of the 3, 2 of them were with women who look like their girlfriend or wife. What's going on here? Are people really born this way? Why isn't there transgenderism in the animal kingdom? Why is it only among humans? And is this just a fad? Now, when young people were doing it and were the front of all of this, I figured, well, instead of going goth, they go trans now. But I'm seeing this with grown-ups. And it's a little weird, but, there's a lot of fads out there. Parachute pants, bell-bottom jeans, fat laces, right? Break dancing. There's all kinds of fads out there, but this is something a little different. And I don't know. I encountered more transgendered people in 1 hour in Fort Lauderdale and Hollywood on Saturday night than I did my first 20 years of life. And there's just something off about that. It just really is. And I don't think it's real organic stuff. Like, I don't think people are born this way. I think there's much more at play. This isn't the normal thing I would talk about, but I wanted to share it with you because it just was so weird to me. It was so weird because these were in normal areas. The Hollywood Broadwalk and the airport. Now, full disclosure, the guy in the cowgirl outfit with his wife, he did get off a flight from Los Angeles. Okay, so I get that. I get that. But when I picked my daughter up from the airport, there was one time I picked her up. There was a guy at the baggage claim wearing like Daisy Duke shorts and high heels, like the pumps, like from the 80s. I mean, so when people get off a plane from Los Angeles, it's not unusual to see this, but this is something you never saw before. So what's in play here? Like Christy Noem's husband. What is going on here? All right, now listen. There's been some major developments in the war with Iran. All good. If you're on hold, stand by. We're going to take our first break of the week. And when we get back, I'll start to get into all of that. You're listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian Craig. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Yep. All right, we are a little behind on break, so we're still in radio station break. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll go to the calls when we're back on the radio. Now, remember, no profanity moving forward. I had some calls in the pre-show, some salty language was used. That's because the radio show had not begun yet. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free and pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. You know, it's just, to see three transgendered people separate within an hour of each other in different places, to me, just seemed a little much. You know, I wasn't at some event or some festival or, or something. It just, I mean, what's going on here? There's less than a minute. We'll be back. It's not something I normally can concern myself with unless there's an issue, but it's just a little strange to me. We got about 30 seconds or so until we're back. Oh, man. Welcome, everyone. Make sure you like the video. If you've not already done it, please like the video. When you guys like the video, that's how my channel gets recommended to people that have not yet found it. So please like the video. Oh, man. What a busy, busy weekend I had. Busy, busy. All right, we're back. I'm Brian, to Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
This has been a grand plan by the greatest president in the history of the country. Was probably started when he assassinated Soleimani. Because there's no doubt in my mind, if Soleimani had survived, we'd be talking about Soleimani as possible leadership in Iran.
Yeah, well, he would have been blown up probably with the first strike on the Ayatollah on day one.
But here's the deal with Soleimani. I mean, think about it. If Trump had won, he assassinated Soleimani. If he had won in 2020, there's likely that he would have implemented his plan just after
Maybe.
2020.
Maybe.
You know, and that's the thing. And I think the linchpin, the actual action of this plan started when Iran, through their proxies, Hamas, attacked on October 7th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the deal. This guy is so far ahead of these guys in the game of chess that it's not even funny how far ahead President Trump is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. That's true. All right, Mike, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much for your call. Now, let me talk about what's going on in Iran. What's going on in Iran is and everything involving Iran is going like clockwork perfection for President Trump. Okay, and if you hear the news, you would think it was a disaster. This is beautiful, and what's going on, President Trump's political and military strategy in Iran is going to go down in the history books as the greatest war campaign the United States has ever waged. There's a couple of developments, which I'll tell you real quick. Okay, one is the Iranians, they've broken the ceasefire with the Strait, right? You know this. And we have Marines on an Iranian tanker. We blew a hole in their engine room, you know. The Iranians have said that they're not going to show up at the peace negotiations tomorrow that are being led in Islamabad by J.D. Vance. And there's another thing, too. A major general in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has seized control. He has relieved the civilians of their jobs. And that's why they're not the foreign minister and the president. So there's been a military coup by the Revolutionary Guard, a major general. Now, 6-7 weeks ago, this guy, I don't even know if he was a major general then. For all I know, he could have been a second lieutenant, and so many people have been killed, he's promoted, but maybe he was a general then, I don't know. But regardless, 6-7 weeks ago, this guy was so far down the totem pole of the chain of command, he didn't even have a seat at the table. Now he's running Iran. This is like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, I don't know how many regime changes in Iran in the last 6 weeks. This is great. There's complete chaos going on. Without any boots on the ground, they're doing their own regime changes over there. And every time that they do one of these things, they're weaker. And right now, with the civilian leadership, the foreign minister and the president, they might be dead for all we know. They could have been killed by the Revolutionary Guard. They might be in prison, being tortured. The very best case scenario they could hope for is that they're under house arrest, which is the least likely of all those. But this is awesome, what's going on. And there's so much chaos. There's no communication. There's no chain of command. There's no chain of authority. There's no legitimate authority in Iran. They are just a step or two ahead of going back to being tribal people, is basically what they're becoming over there. They're becoming tribal, literally, not figuratively, literally in Iran. They're completely falling apart. And President Trump is conquering the country without any boots on the ground, except for that rescue team, right? When the one plane went down with no injuries. Things could not be going better than this. And on top of that, China is really hurting. There's a gas shortage going on in China right now, okay? Because they're not getting the oil from Iran, and they've been cut off from Venezuela in many ways too. So there's a gas shortage in China. Iran is in the verge of collapse. They're on the verge of anarchy. This is the major general from the Revolutionary Guard that took over in Iran. He's basically a warlord, right? Which is like what they have in Haiti. So things could not be going better in this war with Iran from President Trump's viewpoint. Didn't you see him Friday at the Turning Point event? He looked great. I haven't seen Trump look so relaxed in a long, long time. Yeah, he looked great. Everything's going well. Everything's going perfectly. And don't let anyone tell you anything different. Now, do you or someone you know and love suffer from neuropathy? If so, listen up. Call Lighthouse Medical. You know, the numbness, the pain, the burning, the tingling in the hands and feet, muscle weakness, dizziness. Are you falling down all the time? Are your muscles twitching? Do you have the feeling of pins and needles in your hands and feet? Do you have no feeling at all? If you have any of these symptoms, you may have neuropathy, and Lighthouse Medical can examine you and let you know. But, you know, your doctors will tell you there's no treatment for neuropathy. That's not true. There's a treatment that works and lasts at Lighthouse Medical in Pompano. I've seen with Steve Kane and many of our listeners who have gone to Lighthouse Medical for their neuropathy treatment, completely been rid of their neuropathy symptoms, and they haven't returned. In Steve's case, over 3.5 years ago. And his neuropathy symptoms have not returned. Lighthouse Medical can help you no matter where you're located in the world. So give them a call. Make sure you mention you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of the no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. We'll take a quick break and be right back. All right, we're about a little more than a minute away from returning from the radio. We're still in radio break. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll go to the calls when we're back on the radio. And if you missed the beginning of the stream, check it out, because I did the pre-show, came on about 30 minutes early. And had some really good calls before the in the pre-show. That guy from Michigan was a very good caller, wasn't he? A little salty on the language, but that's okay. He was a somewhat pretty honest Democrat. You don't get a lot of honest liberals. He was honest by liberal standards, I thought. You know, his analysis of how Kamala Harris got to where she is was a pretty honest take, wasn't it? Oh, my goodness. All right, we got about 30 seconds or so, and we'll be back. The number's toll-free, and it's pinned in the live chat if you'd like to call in, 888-465-2631. Have you guys seen my video on my other channel at South Beach, Miami Beach yesterday? If you haven't, checked that out. Link's in the description. It was nice. I hadn't walked down South Beach early in the morning like that on the weekend in a long time. We're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian, and this is Florida's longest-running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I like, you know, you're on the phone, you're on your show every day, and you tell the truth to everybody.
7 days a week.
Yeah. And you tell them how much that what President Trump has done is the greatest victory, and what we're doing now with the blockade and everything. And you know you're 100% right, but the fact of the matter is that I wonder. What I'm trying to say is, I wonder in World War II, when we went after Hitler after the Japanese bombed us, and Hitler didn't declare war on the United States, but we went after Hitler. I wonder if the Republicans every day in the media were trashing the United States, saying that we had no business going after Hitler. We had no business. We had no business doing any of this. And look at what gas prices are going up here now. And we should have stayed out of it and all this other garbage. I mean, we have the enemy within, and that's the biggest problem I see here. I see yesterday, Ro Khanna once again. We had no business doing this. Now it's a mess over there. The gas prices are so high. He doesn't care about domestic policy. We have child care and all this. You know, I'm listening to all this garbage from this Democratic Party and this media. It makes me sick. And you're not going to be able to convince them. They're using this war as their platform for the next election. Because that's all they care about.
That's right.
People better wake up out here. People in this country better wake up. Any of these people calling you saying we had no business there and Trump didn't win the war, listen. We have crippled this threat to this world right now. This Iranian threat. We've crippled them, and there's maniacs over there that are going to.
Well, you know, I'm looking at gas. I pulled up Gas Buddy, right? Just for people out there, in Fort Lauderdale, I can get gas for $3.79 a gallon. There's a Chevron in Fort Lauderdale near Executive Airport, $3.79 a gallon. That's pretty good, Richie, isn't it?
But they're going to complain to you saying that it should be less.
It should be less.
They don't tell you that it was more with Biden.
Exactly.
They don't tell you that. But it's a propaganda machine. They got the Muslim Brotherhood in this country. They're involved in our government.
Oh, look at this. Look at this, Richie. At Costco, I'm looking at Costco here in Miami, $3.75 a gallon. $3.75 a gallon at Costco. I'm looking at it right now on Gas Buddy. You guys get Gas Buddy. It's free, and you can verify this. This is the BJ's. $3.75 at BJ's.
No, you're telling the truth, but you know they're gonna nitpick at every little thing, and they've infiltrated the government.
Oh, here we go.
Here
in Miami. Look at this. This is an Exxon in Miami. $3.69 a gallon. $3.69 a gallon. I see a Marathon I see. Oh my! Look at this. Wait a minute. Sam's Club in Miami. $3.52 a gallon. It's on Gas Buddy. And $3.52 a gallon.
You don't have to go through that. Regardless, there's going to be pain for a short period of time in this country.
Yes.
People better wake up. You got diesel fuel that's skyrocketing right now, and these truckers, they're rating surcharges onto deliveries and supermarkets and everything else.
It's price gouging. It's price gouging.
plane in this country because of the diesel fuel going up like this.
You know,
and they're blaming
but hold
Trump
on.
for all
I
this.
want to have a discussion about Iran, though, with you. Okay, you know, as a Vietnam veteran, when I was a kid growing up, all I heard endlessly was the lessons of Vietnam, and we need to learn. And the next time we fight a war, the lessons. What I see President Trump doing in Iran is President Trump with a team that learned the lessons from Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, they're so stupid. They're fighting a war for us. They just brought another regime change. The Iranians are fighting for us on the ground, whether they know it or not. And it's what's happening in Iran is amazing. What President Trump has done, don't you agree?
150%. But they're lying to the people by saying President Trump said no new wars.
He didn't say that.
Said that. No, he didn't. But they're doing that like Sarah Palin. I can see Russia from my
house.
Room, my house.
Yeah, she didn't say that either.
This is all a false garbage thing. A false garbage thing that if you say it enough times, and the media runs with these fake stories. You say it enough time, people believe it.
Goebbels.
The average person listen, the average person is not you and I. They don't follow politics. Some people, you say anything and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about politics. So they're having their own little life, and all they see is grocery prices going up and gas prices going up, and they're blaming Trump on TV every day. Just have to turn on the news. Every day they're blaming Trump for this, and they're blaming the Jews. So Netanyahu and Israel. So I mean, politically, this could become a disaster only because the ignorance of the American people.
Yeah.
That's the only way. They turned the American people against the Vietnam War, and they've turned the American people, the left have turned against America, and they don't want us to win. It's so obvious. Megyn Kelly with his sarcasm. Well, the war started, and the straits were open, and now they're closed. So now we're trying to open them, and they're that's within our side here. They're undermining this president and our war effort.
That's right. The enemy within. They are. You know, Megyn Kelly and all these people. They're Tokyo Rose and Axis Sally is what they are. You know, they're undermining the war effort. Yeah, we're winning a war, and they're trying to convince you we're losing a war. We've already won it.
100%. 100%. That's what's going on here, and people better, like I said, these people are so bad. The enemy within is the word. I'm more concerned about them than I am Iran right now.
Well,
Iran is crippled.
I agree.
But this is what we got. This is what we got.
Traitors.
We have to address that. Boy, I'm telling you, I don't know what we're going to do with these people. They're not American. They're just
Did you see that JD Vance fired Tucker Carlson's son? Tucker Carlson's son, Buckley, no longer works at the White House. Thankfully.
What did you think about that? You said you were going to do a little more research with Patrick Bet-David. Boy,
Patrick Bet-David, what Patrick Bet-David did is, Tucker went after Patrick Bet-David. And Patrick Bet-David, everyone's talking about whether or not Tucker Carlson's taking money from the Middle East. So Patrick Bet-David, who's very, very rich, he's offered to hire a forensic accounting firm, which would cost $500,000, 3 accounting firms, one he picks, one Tucker picks, and one independent one, and do an audit on Tucker and his wife, and Patrick Bet-David and his wife, and then release how they make their money, and so that Tucker can prove he's not taking money from any bad people or Qatar or anything.
Yeah, of course, Patrick Bet-David knows.
You
don't think these people high up know that Tucker's taking the money?
Patrick Bet-David's very, very smart about these things. Like, for example, he had Kinky Boots in studio, Ron DeSantis on his podcast, and he brought in a pair of fancy shoes, and he brought up the height thing, and he asked DeSantis how tall he was, and he said how tall he wants us to think he is, and then he gave him these new shoes, and he said, "Could you just put these shoes on so we can dispense with this thing that you're wearing, these funny kinky boots?" And DeSantis wouldn't do it, right? It was hilarious. I mean, so Patrick Bet-David, you don't get to where he is not being smart. And he wouldn't put out such a challenge if he didn't know. If he,
No, I'm
yeah,
saying that.
yeah. So yeah.
So I'm convinced. And how could Tucker all of a sudden flip like that and actually buy property in Qatar?
Well, we don't know that he's done that. He said he was going to buy a house in Qatar. We don't know that he's done it. And if he does own a house in Qatar, we don't know that he bought it and it wasn't gifted to him in the guise of a purchase. I think what's going to happen, obviously Tucker's not going to agree to this, okay? The Patrick Bet David challenge. So I think what'll end up happening is that Patrick Bet David's going to release his findings at some point of what he knows.
I believe it. But like I said, Tucker just flipped on Trump and MAGA just like that. I mean, he was at the big conferences, and now he's on the outside along with Candace Owen and Megyn Kelly. Yeah. So we have enemies within. We have our own party problems. We have the Democrats who hate everything we do. Hate America, love to see gas prices go up, love to see supermarket prices go up, love to see healthcare prices go up.
It's not, I don't pay too much attention to the money, all right? When my wife and when I was young on my own, I struggled a lot with money. I hated it, right? I could barely afford to keep my lights on, right? When I was young and was first starting out in radio, okay? And when I got married, I told my wife, I want you to handle all the money. Okay, I don't want to know anything about what things cost, and I like that life of bliss. And I went to Saturday night. After I saw these two cross dressers at the Hollywood Broadwalk, right before I saw the cowgirl cross dresser at the airport, I went to the McDonald's on 17th Street Causeway in US 1, and I got remember they used to have that years ago. It's too bad they don't have this anymore. They tore down the building. They built a new building. They had an old classic McDonald's building there for years where the drive-thru was separate from the main restaurant and the food came on a conveyor belt into the drive-thru. That's all gone now. But anyway, I got
hold on one second. Yeah. That was the original McDonald's sign there too, by the way.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, and they've torn it all down and it's all, whatever. Anyway, so I got a value meal. Okay, I got the cheeseburger value meal, and I got it large because I wanted a large Coke, right? So it was $11, and I'm like, what? It was 2 cheeseburgers, and the French fries and the large, and I got it large, $11. And I called my wife. I said, okay, it's $11. Where's the value in this meal? But whatever. It is what it is. I haven't paid attention to the prices of McDonald's in a long time, I guess. I've tuned it out.
But do you blame Trump for that? No. Anybody with any brain, you can't blame the president for this. This is so ridiculous, and because of a short while we have high prices because we have this situation going on. It was necessary, folks. We eliminated the biggest threat in the world to us, and to Israel, whether you like Israel or not, and to the Middle East because they're going after everybody in the Middle East. And this could get a little nasty before it gets better. Hold on to your hats. We're Americans. Root for our.
Well, I'm late for the break, but I'll say this about the prices. When President Trump people tune out what they don't want to hear. Before the election, President Trump gave interviews, and inflation was the big discussion. And he said, I can't do much about lowering the prices. He says, once the prices are up, they're there. It's very hard to lower them. But I can stop the inflation, which he did. Okay. Now, I know gas prices have gone up since the Iran, but so far as the other things, he said that during the campaign. I heard him say it 3 or 4 times. I can't bring the prices down. Once they're up, it's tough, but I can stop them from going up, which he did. All right, Richie, I'm late. I got to run.
Catch up.
Yeah, all right. No, you got to run. If you're on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian. We'll be right back. All right, we have less than a minute till we're back from the radio break. So if you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, and it's pinned in the live chat. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll free call. Yeah, this alligator Alcatraz shirt's a pretty good one. Look at the back. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I love this shirt. All right, 15 seconds. All right, we're back. I'm Brian, Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. This is Sandra calling from Indiana.
Hey, Sandra, what's up?
And hey, and you were talking about gas prices and everything. If people remember, back under Carter, it started out at 60 cents a gallon, and it went up to $1.25 a gallon.
Yeah, it doubled. So
back then, yes. And another thing, if people can afford to go out and buy their carton of cigarettes, depending on the brand, for $140 a week, if they're a moderate to heavy smoker, if they can buy their cases of beer that run about 22 plus for a case of beer, and if women can get their weekly manicures, on an average, the cheapest are $45 for a manicure, and that adds up to over $200 a week. If they do that every week, that's $600 a month.
wow.
So they have no reason to complain about the price of gas.
How much does it? Yeah, I don't know the prices of. How much does a carton of cigarettes cost today? Does anyone know?
It depends on the brand.
Well, let's say like a common one, like Marlboro. If I got like Marlboro.
Yeah, they run, cigarettes have gone up. They run from $10 to $12
A pack? Oh my goodness.
For the brand name. The generics run about $8.
$10 a pack?
Yes, and because I used to work at a store where I sold them.
Wow.
And if you buy, my younger brother smokes brand name. He buys a carton a week.
So yeah, what's a carton cost?
$140.
Get out of town. $140 for a carton of cigarettes?
You get 10 packs in a carton.
Holy smokes.
And like I said, it depends on the brand.
And the state.
They can be $10 and plus. a pack.
That's why, here, we have the Seminoles, and the Seminole here in Florida, and the Seminole Indians, that, to get even with the white man and everything else, they like to sell tobacco and give cancer to people.
Yeah.
But I hear people all the time that I know that smoke. They're always going over to the Seminole Nation to buy cartons of cigarettes. Now I know why. Holy smokes! Yeah, I would quit smoking.
Remember when they used to have the black market smoking thing, where certain places would sell them really cheap for cartons of cigarettes way back in the day.
Well, do you have any Indian tribes in Indiana near you? Like we have the Seminoles here?
I have no idea.
You would know. That's a lot of money. Really, $140 for a carton? That can't be. I got to hear from somebody else. How much does a carton of cigarettes cost in Florida today?
It's the same as beer. Depending on the brand of beer, the price is always different. And manicure is probably the cheapest one, or $45, and most women get those a week.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I just looked online at. Okay, hold on a second here. Retail prices of Marlboro. I just Googled this because I don't know. $11 to $13 a pack. It depends on the state.
Right.
And a carton, they're saying if you go to a duty-free purchase, it's $65 a carton. But I don't know how much a regular carton is.
If you go to Walmart, that's where he shops. He pays $140 for a carton of cigarettes.
That's crazy.
And the prices of gas are always different at different gas stations. They're always different in different towns. So no gas station will ever have the same price.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that would certainly get me off smoking.
It would me too, and off drinking.
Okay, well, now it depends on the state. Okay, so I'm looking online. A carton they're saying a carton's $100 or more nationwide, because some states have higher taxes than others.
Right.
You can get in a cheap state at Walmart, you can get a carton of Marlboro. I just use Marlboro because that seems like when I see people smoking online, $75. Well, that's still a lot. I don't know. You guys tell me, how much is a carton of Marlboro? Not the Seminole price, the regular retail price in the state of Florida. I'd like to know. That's crazy.
Well, like you said, it's probably depending on the state.
I remember when I was a kid, I remember my dad smoking when I was a teenager, and I remember him buying a pack of cigarettes for $1.25, and I thought that was a lot.
I remember buying a pack when I smoked at 50 cents.
Oh my goodness! All right, I appreciate the call. All right, you take it. I appreciate the call. If anybody out there knows what the current price of cigarettes are retail in Florida, let me know. I mean, I've never been a smoker, thankfully so. I mean, that's but the price would certainly get me off that. Holy smokes! What I'd really like to know that I've not heard any reporting on are the price of illegal drugs these days, because President Trump has shut down so much of the drug trafficking. Whatever the prices were a year and a half ago on illegal drugs, fentanyl, cocaine, stuff like that, it's had to go up through the roof. And all the talk of inflation, everyone talks about gas prices and everything. I get it, but I've not seen a single story on the price of illegal drugs compared to, now that's where you won inflation, right? We won inflation on illegal drugs. But my guess is there's been a significant price increase on illegal drugs in this country compared to a year and a half ago, because the supply is so reduced because of blowing the ships out of the water and shutting down the southern border. And that's a story that the mainstream media don't want to share, because it shows the great work that President Trump and his team are doing. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I'm dropping all my copy all over the floor here, and I can't find here it is. Okay. When you hear me do live commercials, the only thing I have written down are the phone numbers, because I don't want to give out the wrong phone number when I'm doing a commercial. So, but I do everything all the time except the numbers because I can't remember the number of everything. I don't want to mess it up in the commercial. But I want to talk about prices and inflation. One place prices have not gone up, that's Friendly Tire in Margate. It's absolutely amazing. With the price of things going up in all these years, the price at Friendly Tire has remained constant. You can get brand new tires for common sizes on some of the most popular and common vehicles on the road today in Florida for just $75 a tire out the door on the road. That's right. You can get brand new tires at Friendly Tire for as low as $75 a tire out the door and on the road. And remember, Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or even dispose of your old tire. Okay? That's amazing. Yeah, I know. As low as and he has thousands of good used tires in stock, as low as $35 a tire, and that's the out the door and on the road price as well. He also does tire repairs. He can get tires for any type of vehicle. Give him a call. If you have a Tesla, he has the special tools you need for a Tesla. If you have run flats, like I have on one of my cars, oh man, he has the best deals you'll find anywhere on run flats. No matter what kind of vehicle you have, even an industrial vehicle, give him a call. If you do ride sharing or something like that, give him a call. He give you great deals and save you tons of money. Give Friendly Mike a call. He'll give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. That's 954-977-9445. He also does tire repairs. Friendly Tire in Margate. Make sure you tell him I sent you. Okay, after the top of the hour, I've got some new things to bring up. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in on this Monday, the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. And I hadn't even really gotten to most of my show prep, so there's been some major developments involving a lot of other things too, including this Laura Loomer exposure of Candace Owens, which is something we're definitely going to talk about that. I'll continue to talk about our great victory in the war with Iran and a whole bunch more. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back right after this. All right, we've got about a minute until we're back. We're still in radio break. Did you guys, if you've, let me know in the chat, have you seen my video on my other channel yesterday from South Beach, Miami Beach? I love making these videos of all the great places in the paradise of South Florida with my MAGA hats on. I love it. I love the reactions from the people when they see these Trump hats. And that one was particularly good because a lot of foreign tourists there, and they've never seen somebody with a Trump hat on before. It cracks me up. Like about 30 seconds. It's my other YouTube channel. It's there's a link to my second channel in the description of the video. It's called Main Street Moments on YouTube. Main Street Moments on YouTube, and there's a link in the description. All right, here we go. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Hour number 2 has begun. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
You know, I think we're doing a great job in Iran.
Absolutely.
And, you know, these people that are saying that, oh, we shouldn't be in there, blah blah blah. They hate America and they just don't want us to fail. And they're saying that the Revolutionary Guard is trying to stop the streets, right? I said, what are they using? Bows and arrows? You know?
Well, they're saying that the Revolutionary Guard are attacking boats. They're attacking ships in the strait. What are they? I'd like to see some video of these Iranian attacks. Are they using speedboats? What are they using? Whatever they're using, we sunk their navy. So what have they got? A pontoon boat?
Exactly, you know,
come on.
They must have canoes or something and
canoes.
And arrows. I think they're in the dark ages again now. And,
yeah.
And I guess anybody who wants to do that, I guess they're suicidal because if it gets worse, I don't think it's that.
I bet you if we saw the boats that they're using, the Iranians right now, I bet you these drug boats were blown out of the water are faster and more advanced than what they're using. They got to be using civilian boats.
Got to be. I mean, they're right there. You know, that's their
they probably have some guys with some machine guns.
Machine guns, or maybe some mortars or something.
Yeah.
But you know, these are big giant
shoulder weapons. They have shoulder weapons. They have shoulder weapons. Is about it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, shoulder weapons. But now, you know, I mean, if it gets worse, the helicopters will be there blowing them out like we did in Venezuela, and they'll learn their lesson the hard way, I guess. But
you know, and I'm sure you guys have seen. Have you seen the video? They've been showing it on television. It's all over the internet. Of our destroyer that blew the hole in that Iranian tanker's engine room.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching that video. Does anyone know what weapon they used? Because I was really blown away. So that this tanker, this Iranian tanker, we blew a hole in its engine room, and we sent the Marines to seize the vessel. So we're taking the ship, which probably isn't very useful since we blew a hole in the engine room, but it's filled with oil. So I guess we're going to take that oil. But it's Trump oil now, and but I watched them, and I was expecting like some big weapon to be fired, and whatever they used was with pinpoint accuracy, and it wasn't even that loud. I don't, you know, the weapons we have are just so advanced.
Yeah, and I'm sure we probably have stuff even a lot better than that, but. This is just a simple put a hole in this ship. These ships aren't made like destroyers. They're just tankers. They're not that.
And you know the Iranians that are left are so desperate and stupid. You know they act as if they have something to negotiate with. What President Trump is doing, we won this war on day one when we killed the Ayatollah, really. But the war's been over, really. We won the war. And what President Trump is doing is masterful. I was talking in the last hour, there's a major general in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard who seized control and relieved the civilian leadership of their post, the foreign minister and the president. That's why they're not coming to the meeting tomorrow in Islamabad, the Iranians. And for all we know, the civilian leaders are dead, or they're in prison, or something. You know what I mean? And this guy with this Iranian Revolutionary Guard general, I don't even know if he was a general 6 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Has he been promoted because so many guys have been killed? You know what I mean? He could have been a sergeant 6 weeks ago, for all I know. But maybe he was a general. Who knows? But even if he was a general, he was so far down the chain of command. He wasn't a player. But now he is. What he is too stupid to know. This major general with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, he's working for Trump and Pete Hegseth and General Kane. They just had another regime change over the weekend in Iran, courtesy of the Revolutionary Guard Major General. They're working for us. Well, we've had about 4 regime changes. They're doing it for us, and President Trump has them taking each other out. So we don't need any troops on the ground or invading armies. They're taking care of it themselves.
For sure, and guaranteed the population is probably pushing hard to get the regime change that they want. So something's going to happen there. It's going to get. I'm thinking it's going to become a friend of America pretty soon. It's just a matter of time. President Trump's doing a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to seeing a new Iran and stop this nonsense.
Yeah. All right, I got to run, Doug, but I appreciate the call. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to share this with you. Okay, now remember the Never Trumpers, the Democrats, the mainstream fake news media, and all the rest tell you that we're going to lose the midterms, right? Because the party in power always loses the midterms. Did you guys catch Face the Nation yesterday? Margaret Brennan hates Trump like the plague. Okay, her husband's a Syrian. I talk about this a lot. She has a Muslim perspective. She had Eric Holder on, who's a real piece of work, and she's talking to him about the gerrymandering that's going on in Virginia. They're carving up Virginia. Virginia went 55% to Kamala in the last election, 45% Trump. So it's not evenly divided. It's a blue state, but it's borderline purple and all that. So they've redrawn the congressional lines. 90% of the House representation in Virginia will be Democrat when they're done. And it's gerrymandering, right? Which is illegal. And Margaret Brennan, she asks Eric Holder about this, and his answer is unbelievable. Listen. Okay, so even Margaret Brennan's like, this is too much. She's like, if you guys are going to win the midterms, why are you doing all this gerrymandering? Right, exactly, because they're projected to lose. And Eric Holder's telling us, well, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. So we have to disenfranchise the voters of Virginia, the 45% that vote Republican, because the Democrats will lose if we don't. They're so desperate and hysterical. They're openly on national television bragging about what they're doing. I've never seen this is wonderful. I've got more too after the break I'll share, but this is great. So much for the Democrats firmed up to win the midterms. By their own admission, they're going to lose the midterms by their desperation. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. Our number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call, no matter where you are listening. I want to talk about Life Imaging FLA. Yesterday, I went on a walk that you wouldn't believe. I walked yesterday for about 4 hours in Miami on foot, no cars, about 4 hours in the hot Florida sun. And, you know, if I had not gone to Life Imaging FLA and gotten the heart scan and found out that I have no blockage, no heart conditions, and that I have the heart of a 25-year-old, I wouldn't have done it. Because, you know, when you get older, you start to worry about your heart. And I've talked a lot about how I have high cholesterol. It's just genetic. My mother has it. I've tried to even go vegan, and my cholesterol was still high. I can't do anything about it. And every doctor I've had told me because my high cholesterol that I'm going to have a heart attack when I'm in my 50s. Well, I'm in my 50s, and it was on my mind before I went to Life Imaging FLA. Now I got peace of mind. And, you know, I walked in Miami for 4 hours yesterday in the hot Florida sun, right? And I wouldn't have done that before because that heat, I would have, oh, I can't, if I'm out in the heat, I'm going to have a heart attack. But now I know no blockage, no heart problems because I had the heart scan at Life Imaging FLA, and that peace of mind has gotten me out doing things I never would have done before because I was afraid of pushing myself into a heart attack. Do what I did. Go get that heart scan. If you have a heart condition, if you have blockage, you'll find out, and that'll be great because you can go and get it treated before it gets worse, before you have a heart attack. But if you're like me, that peace of mind is very liberating and will change your life. They have locations in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade County. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell phone, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you'll be connected in seconds. All right, we'll take our first break of the 7 o'clock hour and be right back. All right, guys, we'll be back in less than a minute. Hold on, I'm just queuing some things up. Unbelievable. Get this to. Why is it doing that? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Yeah, I wanted to play this before the break, but I ran out of time. So Senator Kane, Tim Kaine, who ran as Hillary Clinton's vice president when she lost to the president, he was on Fox News Sunday. So the first clip I played before the break was Eric Holder on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan about the gerrymandering. And Shannon Bream on Fox News Sunday had Senator Tim Kaine on talking about the same thing in Virginia. Listen to what Kaine said. Tyranny. Okay. So Senator Tim Kaine here, he's saying that, well, we're trying to preserve democracy. So to preserve democracy, we're going to suspend democracy, is what he's saying. And that makes sense to him. He doesn't even see the problem with that. The Democrats are in a panic about losing the midterms. And yeah, and I know what you're thinking. Well, wait a minute. The Republicans are doing redistricting. What are they? What the Democrats are not doing, what they're doing is not redistricting. They're gerrymandering. You know, the Democrats, as an example, this ruling coming out of the Supreme Court on the minority districts. Okay, the Democrats have these black districts that shouldn't exist. They want to make sure that there's black representation. So they have these black districts, and they're all Democrat all over the country. And they use the Voting Rights Act of 1964 and other civil rights era legislation to justify this gerrymandering. And that's over now. Supreme Court's coming out on our side. It's been taken care of in Texas. It'll be taken care of here in Florida and other parts of the country, in particular in the South. And, maybe there was a time when blacks couldn't get elected, but these things don't matter anymore. We're in a real post-racial place. I mean, if you go out and about, everybody's interracial now. Nobody cares. The country's not segregated like it was. The neighborhoods of America are very multicultural, and the discrimination that the Democrats had during Jim Crow against African Americans, that's over. And they're in a panic. They're in a panic because we're getting the Republicans are redrawing for accurate representation in their state, not Republican representation. Democrats know they can only win through gerrymandering. And these cases in Virginia and elsewhere, they're not going to hold up because what they're doing is illegal. And they're openly acknowledging what they're doing and feel completely justified in the gerrymandering. And that's going to be their undoing, because the audio that I played of Eric Holder, of Tim Kaine, this is what's going to be used in the court cases challenging it. The top Democrats admitting what they're doing and why they're doing it. So it's going to be defeated by their own testimony through all these interviews they're doing. So I'm not worried about it. We got to pay attention to it and be aware of what they're doing, but it's not something that I'm worried about. Now, there's another story. It went viral yesterday on social media, and it's only a matter of time before it makes it to television. And that's the Candace Owens, Laura Loomer story that's going on. Laura Loomer has really been exposing Candace Owens for a lot of things. Now, a lot of you may not know this, but Candace Owens is being sued by the Macrons over all of her allegations against Macron's wife. It's a defamation lawsuit, and it's coming to court soon. And what Laura Loomer exposed, and she's got the documents. And one thing you got to understand about Laura Loomer, this is what you got. Laura Loomer is always right. Okay? Laura Loomer is always right. When she says something, she always has the information to back it up. And the things that she's been reporting over the weekend about Candace Owens, if true, could be very illegal. She uncovered that Candace Owens she has a house. She just bought a second house in the city in which she has the first house in. And the new house cost over $7 million. The first house was a multi-million-dollar house. So she has two multi-million-dollar homes in the same city. Now, a lot of you may say, so what? What's scandalous about that? Well, a couple of things. One, she's going on the air on her show begging poverty and begging her listeners to buy cheap merch and give her donations to help pay her legal bills against the Macrons. When she has she has like $15 million in real estate assets, minimum that we know of, okay? So she's a millionairess many times over, but she's crying poor mouth. But what she's doing, according to Laura Loomer, who's produced documents, okay? So this is what Laura Loomer is alleging. This is alleged by Laura Loomer. But as I said, I've never known Laura Loomer's reporting to not be accurate. She is always right. You know, a lot of people think Laura Loomer, because she's so vocal and out there, you know, in people's faces, that Laura Loomer is like emotional and all this. What she is very calculating, and before she posts something or says something, it's very well researched and documented. And like President Trump, she's 5 steps or more ahead of whoever she's going up against. I promise you. So what she has done, and she's produced documents to back up her allegations, Laura Loomer, and she's posted all this on X. She's alleging that Candace Owens has been involved in trying to shelter her money in a trust. This multi-million-dollar house, the first multi-million-dollar house, and she's sharing the documents and everything on X about this trust. And the purpose of doing that, she's alleging, is to protect her money from the Macron lawsuit, which she's expected to lose. And that's illegal. And the documents that Laura Loomer has, these are not documents that you just come across. These are very private, confidential documents. I don't know who her sources are, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's almost like she's a member of the Macron team. So that's some pretty serious stuff. She posted something, Loomer, about Candace Owens' husband that I cannot read to you on the air here. I could, but I'm not. So you can go to Loomer's X and read this. But she has made some allegations about Candace Owens' husband that are pretty detailed and pretty brutal. And like I said, she's always right. She doesn't just fly off and say stuff. She verifies and backs up everything. And I couldn't believe, in fact, Candace Owens over the weekend blocked Laura Loomer on X, which tells me that Candace Owens is in a panic over all of this. And then another thing that she exposed about, I did retweet the Laura Loomer thing that I won't read to you. It's on my X, at Brian Craig Show, if you guys go there. But it's pretty. When you read it, you'll see why I'm not reading it on the air. I can't read it on the air. The language, I can't do it. Then there's another thing that Loomer has exposed about Candace Owens that may not sound like a big deal to you, because you and I, we're rational people, but she has an audience of hardcore anti-Semites. I mean, the people that follow and like Candace Owens are hardcore anti-Semites, the worst that we have, right? So she's hired this law firm that's representing her in the Macron case. They're not just all Jews. They're with one of the partners is a senior executive and leader of one of the largest Zionist organizations in the world. So she goes on about the dangers of Zionism, and if something happens to me, the Zionists did it. and she's hired a Zionist law firm to represent her against the Macrons. And while that may not sound like a big deal to you or me, what's the big deal about hiring a Jewish lawyer or a Zionist lawyer? If your following is a following of Nazis, they start to question you when you're hiring Zionists to represent you. So, and knowing Loomer as I do, she has not dropped her biggest bombshells here in the beginning, okay? She's dropped some big ones, but she understands pacing with media. And I don't know what's coming, but it's going to be. So Candace Owens, who's just done disgusting things involving Erica Kirk after the Charlie Kirk assassination, she's been undermining our great MAGA movement and our great president. And she's been normalizing anti-Semitism in this country. Loomer is taking her down big time, and it couldn't be done by a better person than Loomer, because she's not going to stop until it's all out there. All right, we'll take our break for the bottom of the hour. I want to talk about coastal weight loss secret. Another thing too, I was talking about this long walk I took yesterday, and this is something I'm doing regularly, by the way. This 4-hour walk through the hot sun of Miami. I was on South Beach yesterday morning. And, coastal weight loss, with all this weight that I've lost, enables me to be much more active than I used to. Before I lost all this weight, courtesy of Coastal Weight Loss Secret, I'd be dying after these walks that I've been taking. And the reason I've been doing this is for a YouTube channel I have. It's one of my YouTube channels where I do things that involve a lot of walking. And I wouldn't have been able to do this before I lost all this weight with Coastal Weight Loss Secret. And I'm so much more active. And what's amazing is I do all these strenuous things and I'm like not out of breath. And I'm still ready to go. I could keep going. 4 hours. I just did 4 hours because I was done with my task. I could have gone for hours more. And it's because I lost all of this weight and I've kept it off. You can do it too. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. There's no shots, no pills. You don't have to exercise. I didn't do any exercise to lose the weight. I didn't starve myself, and I ate foods I would normally eat. Give them a call. They can help you lose weight no matter where you're located in the world. 561. Oh, the consultation's free, by the way. Okay. So call and schedule your no-charge consultation. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll be right back. Wow. All right, we got just over a minute until we're back. We're still in radio break. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free and pinned in the live chat. Please, guys, make sure you like the video. Liking the video helps grow the channel so much. It really does. It's how people find out about the channel that have, it gets recommended to them who've not already found me. So please like the video. That helps a lot. It really does. And of course, if you're new, subscribe and then like the video. But liking the video gets the video recommended to people that have not yet found the channel. We got less than a minute. We'll be back. About 35 seconds. We'll be back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Welcome back, one and all. Calls on hold, stand by. President Trump has put together such a great team. We had one bad apple, and that was Pam Bondi. He fired her. And Kash Patel, over the weekend, he's pretty ticked over that Atlantic story about him. They were slandering him and everything. There were some lying stories about him that he's going to sue. There was a story that he's been drunk and drinking. And then there was a story over the weekend that he got locked out of his computer and thought that he had been fired, and he was running around the FBI headquarters telling everybody he had been fired. I mean, all these things. And he's talking about suing the Atlantic magazine over this. But he said that there's arrests are coming very soon, that he's plenty ticked. And he was very specific. And it looks like Todd Blanche is on the job. But if you remember, 2 Fridays ago, I was telling you I had to go with my wife to renew her driver's license in person. Every so often, you got to go in person. She had to go in person. And we were dreading it like nobody's business. Because you go down there to renew your driver's license, you basically plan to be there for the whole day, don't you? It takes forever, right? Well, not anymore. And when we got there, we were there so... I've never been at the DMV for as little time as I was there with my wife. And we had to go through the whole process. She had to get a new license, get the driver's license done, everything. It was a thing. We were in and out so quick, I couldn't believe how fast we were in and out. And the staff was really nice. This was the location in Coconut Creek on Coconut Creek Parkway and Banks Road, which is just east of 441 on Coconut Creek Parkway. And I'd been there a few times since that location has been open. They used to be on 441. That was an awful location. They moved, and I took my daughter there for her license. So I've been there, and I've been to the DMV many times. Unfortunately, in my life, it was never so fast and effortless. And I was telling you guys, I think it's because they're not giving illegals driver's licenses anymore. Here in Florida, you have to take the test in English, which weeds out a lot of people now. And we're not giving driver's licenses to illegals anymore. And I even saw there was a guy when I was in line with my wife, and there was a guy in line who was from another country. He was a white European guy. I don't know what country he was from, but he was a white European guy. And he had a license in the past that was no longer valid, and he was trying to get a new license. And I couldn't hear all the details, but I could hear a little bit. He was trying to tell him something about his visa that he can get and they wouldn't give it to him, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. He couldn't get his driver's license. He was really fighting hard to get that driver's license. And if he's got a driver's license in another country, he can drive here on that license. Why did he want a U.S. driver's license so bad? If you have a foreign driver's license, you can drive in Florida. But he was fighting hard to get that, and they wouldn't give it to him. And he certainly didn't need it for ID because he had a passport, and a visa. Visa paperwork he was showing them. And I was like, oh, wow. It's so bad. It makes me so upset at DeSantis that he betrayed us and President Trump and ran against him in the primary and all that. Really, because he's such a great governor. And this is a great thing, And so Sean Duffy was on Fox over the weekend, the transportation secretary. Yes. A major upgrade from Mayor Pete as transportation secretary. And, the transportation secretary out of the cabinet positions is one of the ones that they usually just give to somebody that's symbolic. Somebody's done a lot to help them get elected, so they make them transportation secretary. Sean Duffy is the first transportation secretary that I know of that's doing good stuff. There was one transportation secretary that got the brake light in the back windows of the car. That was good. Who was that? It was a Republican too. I can't remember who did that. Who was a transportation secretary that got the brake light in the rear window being made the law? I don't remember. It was a Republican woman. I just can't remember who it was. But anyway, Sean Duffy has been doing just amazing things as the Secretary of Transportation. And he's focused a lot on the commercial driver's licenses, the CDLs. Listen to this. This is Fox over the weekend. This is awesome. The Leering Center. Yeah, well, they're cutting off the money, and that's all these local officials in these states care about. So that'll get it done. You know what I got to wonder? In these blue states and blue cities, how many of the school bus drivers are illegals that have CDL licenses? You drive these big vehicles and you're not qualified, and they just give you a license, and you don't know the rules of the road. You can't read the signs. It is dangerous, but it is major job creation and a great trade, which is truck driving, and not just long haul, local. And I don't know how many of you have noticed this, but I've noticed in the last year and a half. I saw this yesterday when I was driving to and from Miami. The Highway Patrol, I haven't heard any reports about this. This is just my observation, but it seems to me that they're pulling over a lot more commercial vehicles than ever before and doing checks on them. The Highway Patrol here in Florida. Does it seem that way to you? And it seems to me they're doing it to find out if they are qualified to have that CDL license. And it doesn't just make the road safer. It's every time they take one of them off the road, that's a job created by President Trump. And these used to be very sought after, high paying jobs. And it's another, they want you to think that the illegals are just taking over menial labor that no one wants to do. They've taken over professions that pay very well, that people used to have great careers doing, but just don't pay that well because they've taken the jobs at very low wages. All right, listen, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll take some more calls. I got a lot more to share after the break. I want to talk about Dr. Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. This is another one. I was talking about this, all this walking I've been doing, and I would not have been able to walk for 4 hours on the sidewalks and pavement of Miami if I still had my knee pain that Dr. Appleton rid me of. I wouldn't have, almost 4 years ago. And when he's rid me of pain, none of the pains have returned because his robotic laser repairs the damage that causes the pain. And it's amazing how well it works. It works. He's rid me of pain 7 times. In fact, there's never been a time I've gone to Dr. Appleton for a pain that he hasn't rid me of. That's right. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain too. Remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays, and the consultation is free with Dr. Appleton. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be back in just a few seconds. This is the image that the astronaut took with his iPhone. We're back. I'm Brian. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show. Have you guys seen this video that one of the astronauts took from his iPhone from Artemis 2? They're behind the moon, on the dark side of the moon, and they see the Earth setting over the moon. I mean, this is blew me away. One day, you're either going to go to the NASA Museum or the Smithsonian, and this iPhone is going to be on display. They should not sell this iPhone or ever trade it in. This iPhone may be the most valuable iPhone ever because it didn't just go to the moon. It took this incredible, just stunning video of the Earth going down, like a little disappearing there behind the moon. It's pretty frightening, actually, to see the Earth is gone because you're going on the dark side of the moon. But that is something else. The Earth setting over the moon. I tell you, pretty amazing stuff that this country has done. This sad story out of Louisiana of this mass shooting is not going to get a lot of play. The guy, it's really sad. I mean, there's just, anytime there's a mass shooting, it's sad. But this Louisiana shooter, he killed his 7 children. And you're not going to hear anything about it because he's black. Listen, this is in the New York Post. The deranged Army vet dad who gunned down his 7 children and their cousin confessed he was drowning in dark thoughts and told his stepdad that some people don't come back from their demons just weeks before the killings, according to a new report. Shamar killed 8 children, 5 girls and 3 boys. And boy, this is just a sad story. Ages 3 to 11, seriously wounded 2 women believed to be his wife and girlfriend. Oh, he's got a wife and a girlfriend. Oh, what a winner. Those of you that are lonely and can't find a girl, this guy's a psycho and had 2. He went on a shooting rampage following an argument with his spouse Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Just weeks ago on Easter Sunday, he called his mother and his stepfather and told them he was drowning in dark thoughts, wanted to end his life, and that his wife, Shaniqua, wanted a divorce. Well, I wonder why. Think the girlfriend had something to do with that? The stepfather said, I told him, you can beat this stuff, man. I don't care what you're going through. Then I remember him telling me, some people don't come back from their demons. The mother was unclear what problems her son and his wife, who were married in 24 and had 4 kids together, were dealing with. A relative of one of the wounded women said the couple was in the middle of separation proceedings and was due in court on Monday. They'd been arguing about their relationship coming to an end when Elkins, who was later killed by cops, opened fire. The killer father worked at UPS and served with the Louisiana National Guard until 2020. A UPS coworker described him as a devoted dad, but said he seemed stressed and would pull his hair out, creating a lasting bald spot. Wow, he was under a lot of, yeah. His mother noted she'd reconnected with her son more than a decade ago after leaving him to be raised by a family friend when she was a teen. She said she didn't witness the shootings on Sunday, but knew that he shot his wife several times in the head and stomach. She last saw the deranged father when his family came over for dinner last weekend, but noted he did not appear off at the time. He had 2 previous convictions, including a DUI, a weapons charge. It goes into some details on that. The victims, his own children, ages 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 6, and 5 years old. 7 of the 8 were his own children. The 8th was their cousin. They were all found dead inside their home in Shreveport. Most of the victims were shot in the head while they slept. One child was killed on the roof while trying to escape. Oh, my goodness. He was later killed by police during an attempted carjacking. He also shot and wounded 2 women, the mothers of his children, during his murderous rage. He shot his wife in the face at the home with the 8 kids. The other injured victim is his girlfriend, who was shot in a separate house nearby. He shared 4 of the slain children with his wife and 3 with the girlfriend. There's nothing about this that's not tragic. My goodness, little baby. They're all little babies, little kids, and it's just awful. and obviously a very psychotic but also selfish man, but not totally crazy, because he was trying to escape through a carjacking when they got him. So, the insanity is only if you're so far gone you don't know what you're doing is wrong. And most everybody that takes other people's lives have mental problems, but that doesn't mean that they're not responsible. If they're trying to escape, they know exactly what they're doing. And he can claim demons talking to him when he gets in the court. That's not going to fly, or he wouldn't have made the escape. But this case is going to disappear from the news, not because he's dead. It's because he's black, or was black. And the media, they want to keep, the media are all about false narratives. And one narrative they want to have are mass shooters are white heterosexual men. Well, there have certainly been white heterosexuals, males, that have committed some mass shootings over the years, but that trend is different. We've got this guy who was a black man. We've got these trans shooters. There's been several trans shooters, biological women, and in some of the instances. So, but that doesn't fit their narrative. There's another false narrative. The Pope came out. This was amazing. The Pope came out and corrected the fake news. He said the fake news. He said the comments that he made were speeches that were written before any of these things happened with Trump, and that and what he was talking about had nothing to do with President Trump. And the Pope even went on to say, why would I do? He says, it's not in my interest to be in conflict with the president. And J.D. Vance even yesterday thanked the Pope for clarifying that there's been no conflict with the Pope against President Trump. But the media have that narrative going. In fact, over the weekend, CNN even went to a church yesterday and interviewed Catholics coming out the church, who of course are MAGA, who are upset at the president. Well, the Pope said he wasn't talking about the president, and that the fake news took the comments he said out of context to create a conflict that didn't exist. The news, that's what they're in the business of, crafting false narratives. And I don't know, about 95% of what you see in the news is just them trying to get some other false narrative going. Whether there's the Pope is upset with the president, or mass shooters are all white men, heterosexual white men, that's all they're about, are getting false narratives going to promote the liberal agenda, as opposed to reporting the real news of what's going on out there. And it seems that most of what we talk about in the news are combating the false narratives. It's got to be done, because if we don't correct it, they'll be allowed to continue. Like this analysis I gave you of the situation in Iran. The war with Iran could not be going better. We've never had a war go so well. It's going perfectly from our viewpoint, right? The war was won weeks ago, and the Iranian army and the Iranian Revolutionary Army are doing our work, but they just don't know it. Things could not be going better in Iran, and without any boots on the ground. Right now, there's a cleanup operation going on, and the Revolutionary Guard are taking out the civilian leadership, and some of the civilian leadership may take out some of the Revolutionary Guard. Remember what President Trump said a couple weeks ago: the people inside Iran are afraid of the Revolutionary Guard, and when they lose the fear is when they'll stand up against them. And that's going to start to happen when they're not around. Yeah, this war was won weeks ago. We're no longer in a state of war with Iran. And that doesn't mean there won't be some airstrikes after the Tuesday meeting doesn't happen, right? But the war has been won for weeks. You could argue the war was done in the first seconds when we took out the supreme leader. Oh, man. Now, Sloman's Home Security. This is really amazing, Sloman's Home Security, this offer. Sloman's Home Security is offering a free home security system with free professional installation and 24/7 central station monitoring. You get all that for just $24.95 a month, and you're locked in for 5 years at that price. Mother's Day will be here before you know it. This is a great gift for mom, for your grandmother, your adult daughter who lives outside the house, or for your wife and your own family. It's a great Mother's Day gift. It's a free home security system and professional installation. It's absolutely free from Sloman's. Your Sloman's home security system includes a touchscreen keypad, 3 door or window sensors, a motion detector, notifications, and remote keypad access. Call them right now. There's still time for Mother's Day. 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050. All right, 2 hours down. The show's flying by. I mean, I can't believe how fast the show's going. We got 1 hour to go. We'll take our break for the top of the hour, and when we come back, there's a lot more to get into and discuss, and more of your calls. So if you're on hold, hang in there. The number's toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. 888-465-2631. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1979, celebrating 49 years on the radio. Can you believe it? Long time. How many of you have been with the show that long? I know. It's amazing. Some people will tell me, I've been listening since this year, that year. It blows me away. We'll take our break for the top of the hour, come back with your calls and more right after this. All right, hang in there, guys. Hold on. We'll be back shortly. I'm just queuing some stuff up. All right, the 8 o'clock hour has begun. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1979, celebrating 49 years on the radio. I was just looking during the break, and Laura Loomer, she's working now with Macron's lawyers against Candace Owens. I mean, you know, this thing with Candace Owens is so important. We have these, and you've heard me talk a lot about this, and maybe, you don't realize it's significant. They've had a major impact. We have seen a rise of anti-Semitism in this country that is so disgusting. And I never thought I'd see it. We pretty much wiped out anti-Semitism in America. It's back. Why is it back? Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are largely responsible for it. Somebody I know and respect was talking. I heard talking about Erica Kirk regurgitating some things that Candace Owens had said about Erica Kirk in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. She is just a toxic, poison person, Candace Owens, and she's been undermining this great movement. So Laura Loomer just posted some text message, and she said the other day, "You think I can't get in touch with Macron?" And this is what Laura Loomer tweeted. Candace Owens is about to have the week she deserves. She says, "Today I am being put in touch with Macron's lawyers." Okay? She said today she's being put in touch with Macron's lawyers. Now remember, there's a lawsuit that the Macrons have against Candace Owens. Turns out, I know a lot of Jewish lawyers who know another Jewish lawyer who knows somebody. And Candace Owens, that's a joke about Candace Owens hiring these Zionist lawyers. And so she got in touch. So she posted the message she sent. She says, "Bonjour, Emmanuel Macron. Greetings from America. I have located," this is Laura Loomer, what she's put on X. "Bonjour, Emmanuel Macron. Greetings from America. I have located nearly $12 million, possibly even more, of real estate that Candace Owens and her husband appear to be hiding in a trust. I have all the documentation, including property tax records, and a friend offered to put her in touch with Macron's lawyers if she wants, and she's in communication with them today. And it may have already happened because they're like 5-6 hours ahead of us, right, in Paris, 6 hours ahead of us in Paris. So this is great stuff. It really is, because it was the purpose of conservative media. When conservative media started to take hold, and the beginnings of it was the rise of Rush. There were conservatives before, but the rise of Rush, and since Rush Limbaugh till now, the purpose of conservative media hasn't been just to report the accurate stories, but to combat liberal media bias, right? And liberal media bias isn't just the spin on stories, it's the stories they choose not to cover. Like liberal media bias right now with the war in Iran is portraying what's going on in Iran as a loss as opposed to a victory. That's media spin, right? And those of us in conservative new media have been combating liberal media bias all our lives. That's what we do. And we've done great work, I think, all of us. But now what's happened is we've got to fight conservative media bias, because there's all these never Trumpers and fake MAGA and rhinos, rats, Republicans against Trump, and they bill themselves as Republicans, even as MAGA, and they're out there saying and reporting things that are just not true and doing incredible damage. So now those of us in conservative media not only have to combat liberal media bias, we have to combat never Trump or fake MAGA media lies. So, it's a two-front war, I guess. I give you a great example of what I'm talking about is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tucker Carlson's brother, or is it his? Yeah, it's his brother. Has been posting some things over the weekend, accusing President Trump of staging the Butler assassination attempt. Now, that's just insanely stupid. We all saw it. Of course it happened. We saw it live. I saw it on Right Side Broadcasting. Where did you watch it? It was the only Trump rally in the whole campaign that CNN covered. They weren't covering any of the Trump rallies, but they covered this one. And Butler, I wonder why. Out of all of them, why was this the one they covered? Not only that, it was the only Trump rally where Trump came out on time. He never came out on time at any of these things. And I understand because he's got to meet and greet all the VIPs and the donors and take photos and all of that. I get it, And when he came out on time, it caught me off guard. Because when there's a Trump rally coming on, I always put on Right Side Broadcasting. I have it on in the background while I'm doing stuff around the house. And when I hear the music, I know that it's time, right? And I was in shock when President Trump came out on time. So think about it. He came out on time for the first time, maybe ever, at a rally. And it's the first rally that CNN covered live during the whole campaign of 2024. That's the one he gets shot at. And on top of that, 3 people got shot other than Trump, and 1 was killed. So 4 people total were shot, and 1 was killed, Corey, the firefighter. So of course it was real. So, Tucker, his brother's out there posting stuff on Twitter, and it's just bizarreness. And their conspiracy theory even involves the flag, the big American flag over President Trump, the one on the crane. The crane flag had become kind of a new thing over the last year or two before this at Trump events. And they're claiming that the whole fight was staged, and that they lowered the crane flag after the shooting happened before Trump got up so that the flag was right where they needed to be for the pose. Give me a break. This is crazy town, But, hey, that's Tucker's family, and I get it. They're a bunch of never Trumpers over there, a bunch of blue blood never Trumpers. His son's name's Buckley. I mean, come on, that doesn't get more blue blood than that. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, after all this garbage comes out about Butler over the weekend, starts buying into it. So, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, textbook example of what we're talking about here. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she said she's true MAGA. Trump's no longer MAGA. She had a disagreement with him over the Epstein files, so she had to leave the movement and Congress. Has nothing to do with that $25 million she made the last few years in Congress. But she just had a disagreement with him over the Epstein files, so she left over all this. Well, now she disagrees and takes issue with everything he says and does, right? I mean, she's like a liberal. No matter what he says, no matter what he does, it's wrong, and she's against it now. I thought you were MAGA, and you had a disagreement, Marjorie Taylor Greene, over the Epstein files, whatever that was. I mean, he released them all, signed the bill into law to do it, so I don't understand why. And now, he and the First Lady want all the victims to testify and name names in front of Congress, which is what she wanted. But now she just disagrees with him on everything, and this is what I mean. So we have to combat not just the mainstream liberal fake news. We also have to combat the so-called conservatives too. All right, we'll take our first break of the 8 o'clock hour already. I can't believe it. The show's flying by. It is, oh my goodness, it's coming up on 8:15. I was just reading, there's an actor who's not that famous, but you know who he is if you saw him, and he was in Starship Troopers. His name was Patrick Muldoon. I've heard of Patrick Muldoon. He was on Days of Our Lives, and Melrose Place, but I know him from Starship Troopers. He was the boyfriend of the main girl in Starship Troopers. Oh, I can't remember her name. The one that was married to Charlie Sheen. You know what I'm talking about. And he just died unexpectedly yesterday at the age of 57 from a heart attack. And, if Patrick Muldoon would have gone over to Life Imaging FLA and had that heart scan, he would have known, and he could have gotten into the ER, and he'd probably be alive today, ready to do some auditions next week. I told you, the first sign of heart problems is instant death with a heart attack. And this is just a terrible thing, I see people like Patrick Muldoon, Adam the Woo, and others. They unexpectedly, no symptoms, they dropped dead and was like, I had no idea you had a problem. You had no idea. That's because he didn't have the heart scan at Life Imaging FLA. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell phone, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you will be connected in seconds. When you're over there, make sure you ask about the cancer screening. And guys, be sure to ask about the virtual colonoscopy, okay? And of course, they have locations in Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach County. Life Imaging FLA. Give them a call. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be back shortly, guys. If you want to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. We got about 30 seconds, and we'll be back. All right. All right, we are back. My name's Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Celebrating 49 years on the radio. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. You know, one of the most bizarre stories to come in over the last few days is this one about Ilhan Omar. You know, Ilhan Omar not only should be arrested, she should be tossed out of Congress and deported back to Somalia forever. You guys know the story. But when the Somali pirates were uncovered in Minneapolis, and her net worth began to be exposed of $30 million, people were like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? She needs to, be investigated. How did she earn $30 million? And I remember when she married this guy that she's married to a white guy. And when she married this guy and her net worth shot up, I figured that Ilhan Omar had just married some rich guy, right? Some rich guy. But no, her husband had no money. Neither of them had any money. But after they got married, all of a sudden she was worth $30 million. And obviously we know how she made the money, right? Corruption, just like Presley. And she's one of the Somali pirates of Minnesota. I mean, there's no getting around it, right? And she's definitely running scared. And this revising of her net worth is crazy. An amended financial disclosure filing reviewed by the Wall Street Journal shows that Ilhan Omar and her husband's assets have been revised from the $30 million to between $18,000 and $95,000. The amended disclosure confirms that what we've said all along, the Congresswoman is not a millionaire. The revised disclosure came after the Office of Congressional Conduct requested additional information earlier this year, according to the Journal. So what was the deal with that winery that didn't produce wine? The winery, one of they had two things that drove up their net worth to over $30 million. One of them was the winery, and one of them, the husband had a venture capitalist firm that had all this money, And I saw someone on X go to the address given for the winery. They didn't even know who she was. Okay, there's no winery. And when you look at her amended financial disclosure, that to me tells me she's scared and she's blaming the account. Oh, then an accounting error. If you're worth $6 million or $30 million, because she was worth between $6 and $30 million, according to the disclosure, and now you're worth less than $100,000, you know it, because the dramatic difference in your spending power. If you're in net worth, by the way, is no greater than $95,000, that includes your house, doesn't it? I would think your net worth includes your home. So does she not own a home? Her husband or don't have a home? I don't know where this number's coming from. But they know darn well that there's something going on. So like Loomer is alleging with Candace Owens hiding money and trust and everything from the Macrons, what's been happening here? And for them to do a revised financial disclosure at such a drastic change that makes her no longer a millionaireess from $30 million to $95,000, that's a panic move. And people say, well, where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Ilhan Omar is fearful of an arrest. If she wasn't, they wouldn't have done something so dramatic. You don't go from 30 million to 95,000. Unless you're really, that's the kind of thing you do when you're scared. There's the Clintons did a similar thing too. They were allowed to amend a return. And over the weekend, this weekend, the news was filled with so much stuff. It just blew my mind. Dick Morris was on television over the weekend. If you're on hold, hang in there, guys. We'll get to some calls in a bit. Hold on. Dick Morris gave this interview over the weekend, and this one it seemed like to a lot of people, why is he talking about this? Who cares? It was beautiful. He talked about how Bill Clinton, there was a lot of talk with the Clintons about why didn't Hillary divorce Bill? And, if Hillary would have divorced Bill when she was first lady, or even shortly after they left, but when she was first lady, she probably would have become president. And because she would have regained respect, but she put up with it. Well, Dick Morris over the weekend said that Bill Clinton not only was thinking about divorcing Hillary, now remember, he was the one who was messing up, right? Not only was Bill thinking about divorcing Hillary while he was president, he did polling on it to find out how it would affect him in the future. And he was the one who was considering divorce, not her. And so, people say, well, who cares? Or why did Dick Morris even bring this up after so long? it's to stick it into the Clintons to cause problems, because whether or not the story's true, I don't know. I've never known Dick Morris to share something that was not true, but it'll certainly cause a lot of problems for the Clintons. Hillary's got to be going through the roof over that one. No doubt about it. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. The number's toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Oh, hey, Brian, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how are you today?
All right.
I think one thing that really has the most outrage amongst the American public are when our public servants up in the hill, up in Congress their net worth is jumping from, like I say, less than 100 grand to 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. This is insane. These people most are not really super high IQ people, and certainly not super high IQ finance people. I think that should almost trigger some type of an audit or something. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, I kind of think the American people accept a certain amount of corruption from our public officials. Like, it's okay.
Yes.
But what they've been doing is they've been stealing too much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially the group, the Somalian Pirates bunch in Minnesota. Listen, is there any one of them is worth less than $20 million now?
Well, what Dr. Oz gave an interview over the weekend that was amazing. They have shut down hundreds of hospice cares that were fraudulent in L.A. And 55% of the hospices in the United States were based out of Los Angeles. And so they cut off their funding, which was a lot of money because they get so much money every month for each patient. And he said not one of them has contacted us to keep the money going. Like, you cut us off by accident. We got all these patients because they're all fake.
All fake. They don't even bother to try and disguise it like there's actually a business operating there or a winery operating there. This is blatant corruption, blatant. It should trigger an audit or something.
Well,
the American public.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe that Ilhan Omar's in a panic to do a revision that dramatic.
Yeah.
She's in a panic, and when people are panicked is when they start making stupid decisions. And she's making stupid decisions. She kind of just should have left it alone and just wrote.
Well, she deserves the trouble that we've had in Minnesota. I remember watching her the State of the Union address and the attitude she's had. This is ridiculous. It's like in-your-face corruption from our people in Congress, and we have the opportunity to do something about this. This is outrageous.
Well, what's happened is people have gotten majority of the American people have gotten accustomed to the idea that the only reason there's a national debt is because of this Democrat corruption.
Yeah. It's massive. What's strange to me is it seems like everybody there is worth between 20 and 30 million. It's just like the standard operating procedure now.
Exactly. There's something about that number that's acceptable.
Yes. Yeah, don't go above $30 million. Don't go above $30 million. You've been in the Congress for 1 year, or trigger an audit or something like that.
It triggers something. Yeah, like Presley.
Yeah.
Presley's another one, the bald-headed one. She had a negative net worth, and now she's worth 30 to 40 million.
And where's the money come from there?
Exactly. The way the thing that they do, is the reason they don't bother to have a real winery or something is because nobody ever checked into this before. It's the first time it's happened. So there was no need to even pretend.
Why wouldn't somebody check into those, especially the group from Minnesota? These other, these real out front in your face.
Exactly.
Guys. I wonder why was that never checked?
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I got to run. I'm late for the break. I appreciate the call.
Right.
If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, you're welcome to call about anything I brought up so far. Brought up a lot on the program today. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be back in less than a minute, guys. Hang in there. We're still in radio station break. If you'd like to call in, the number's pinned in the live chat. All right, hang in there. Less than 30 seconds. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. You're listening to the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. You know, I saw this morning, and it really is aggravating with James Carville. There's a lot, there's a lot of things that are going well for us, but not everything. James Carville, he gave this interview on this liberal podcast, and he was screaming from the top of his lungs about what the Democrats will do if they get back in power. And he goes through this list, which I'll share for you in a minute. Now, based on what's going on, the Democrats' internal polling is showing that they're going to lose. That's why they're doing this manipulation in Virginia, right, that I played earlier with Senator Kane and Eric Holder, all right? Their internal polling is telling them they're in trouble, so they're trying to do a preemptive by gerrymandering the districts of Virginia. But you never know. You get into an election, it's all about turnout. If we swamp them at the polls like we did in the presidential election, not only will we win, we'll gain seats. With some of this redistricting that's gone on already, we will win seats. And if you notice, President Trump has been spending a lot of time talking about no tax on tips. And I was watching Peter Ducey's show on yesterday, and he had that guy on, I don't know his name, he's from that reality show Bar Rescue. And he was talking about people getting tips and how significant it is. And one of the things that he said that is that so many of the people in the tip economy had no idea this was coming because they don't follow the news. You know, I had a conversation a few months ago with the manager of the Starbucks I go to. And I just made a comment about no tax on tips. He didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, yeah, Trump just passed a law that you're not going to have to pay tax on tips anymore. And he's like, really? He was shocked, and he was the manager. And, it's like anything else. If out of sight, out of mind, people don't follow the news, they don't follow politics, and they just don't know. And President Trump's spending a lot of time over the past few days talking about no tax on tips. And I'm starting to wonder, they're viewing this as a new voting block of people, that they a lot of them, even though there's no tax on tips, still don't know that they're getting it. And what the bar rescue guy was saying that he sees in his business and others in the hospitality industry is that they have a happier workforce now that there's no tax on tips because they get to keep the whole thing. It's been a major increase. He says there's some people there, it's single moms making $35,000 a year. Now they just got a $6,000 a year raise. It's life-changing money. And now that they're getting to keep all their tips, remember, and the tips are also a boom for the restaurant because the restaurant had to pay partial taxes on the tips as well, but they all got a raise. And President Trump wants them to know, all tip workers, that they got a raise. And that's why they're spending so much time talking about it, because a lot of tip workers don't know. Now, it's not just that they don't follow news or politics. People that are part of the tip economy work so hard. They don't have time to follow the news, right? They work long, hard hours on their feet or driving an Uber or something, and they're just tired. They just don't know because they're just too tired to follow the news, And it does look like they're treating them as a new voting block, and that's why it's so important, and to let people know in the tip economy that they don't get tips. And a lot of them are finding out as they're filing their income taxes. But James Carville did this interview, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs like an incoherent man. But he said, if we win, when we win back, the Democrats, we're going to grant statehood to D.C. and Puerto Rico, so they get 4 more seats in the Senate, and then they get some House seats too. They're going to add 4 justices to the Supreme Court, so they're going to pack the Supreme Court and grant amnesty to all the illegals in the country and tear down the wall and all that stuff. And, you could say, oh, Carville's crazy, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs. But, say what you want about the Democrats. At least when they're in power, they act like it. And without question that if the Democrats get back in power, they're going to pack the Supreme Court and do these things if they get back in power. Because they know if they get back in power, they're in charge, and what are we going to do to stop them? And then you look at what's going on right now. Here we have the Democrats on the ropes about the midterms. Their internal polls are telling them they're in big trouble. That's why they're gerrymandering Virginia, right? And we're getting held up over some rule over the filibuster. The filibuster is not a law. It's really almost like a gentleman's agreement in the Senate. Do you think that if the Democrats retake the Senate and the House, that they're going to stop the filibuster from D.C. statehood? They're going to let the filibuster stop them from packing the Supreme Court? Of course not. They're just going to do it. They're going to say, we got the mandate, we got elected, and we got the mandate. We're just going to do it. So why won't our guys do it? Well, it's pretty simple. We've got corrupt people. When John Thune got picked, a lot of people said, you don't know this guy. He's with the Bushes. Yeah. And this is one thing you got to understand about the never-Trumper Republicans, the Republican establishment, the Bush Republicans. They are very confident and comfortable with losing control of the Senate and the House and even the presidency to keep the MAGA movement out of power. They would, the ones that are in power like Thune, if we lose the Senate or the House, they'll still have their seat. So they don't worry about it. But the Bush never-Trumper Republicans, they don't want the Save America Act passed. They want to lose. They want the Democrats back because they want MAGA gone. The Uniparty, yeah, it's the Uniparty. And the Uniparty may be almost wiped out, but we still have some of them in power in key positions, and one of them is Thune. And it's so frustrating, really, isn't it? I mean, it is frustrating. You know, the Republican Party under President Trump right now has the biggest mandate the Republican Party has ever had. The mandate that President Trump has in the second term is equal to, if not greater than, the mandate that FDR had when he was first elected in 1933, because the Depression was going on. People were desperate. This president has a mandate, and still Thune won't do it. That Save America Act should have been passed on day one. And it's very simple, right? Photo ID to vote, prove U.S. citizenship to register to vote. Who could be against that? A never-Trumper rhino who's in bed with the Bushes, that's who, because they want back in power. We saw this with the Tea Party, and we had this one Tea Party candidate on who had lost after the election, and she said the Republican establishment would rather control the loss than lose the victory, right? So as MAGA grows and gets more entrenched in the Republican Party, the establishment are pushed more and more to the outside till eventually they'll be extinct. The rhinos will be extinct, and they know it. And they're using the Save America Act to slow down the MAGA movement. And you know what? It has a discouraging effect on people. And, you know, the only thing that we have against us in the midterm election is one thing and one thing only: if we don't have a massive turnout. And that's why I'm taking so much pleasure in Tucker Carlson, his son, getting fired by J.D. Vance. Okay, that was a message, because people were pretty upset that Tucker Carlson's son, with everything he's doing, is working in the White House. So they got rid of him. They fired him. That's good. It's another reason I'm taking so much pleasure in Candace Owens being exposed by Loomer, because these people are doing so much damage as we're in this important midterm election year. You know, and when I saw President Trump Friday night at the Turning Point event, did he look like a guy who thought we were going to lose the midterms? I haven't seen him look so energetic in a long time, because this war and everything has been exhausting for him, and he's been operating on Iran time. And I saw him Friday night, and he was energized. And you know, the Save America Act not being passed by the Senate, it is something that's discouraged a lot of Republicans, and I get it. I can see how you get discouraged. Having a massive turnout, we will win without question, and we'll know early on in the evening if we swamp them at the polls. We've got the numbers on our side. And that's it. So don't let these things discourage you. And you've seen how they've been trying to get this thing with the Pope going, this thing with this going, this other thing going. They're desperate, the Democrats, because their internal polls show that they are losing. Now, I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. You know, those of you that are watching me online right now, this is one of my shirts that I've gotten post weight loss. And this is I'm wearing a T-shirt now. This is the kind of T-shirt I wouldn't have worn before I lost all the weight. This is like a form-fitting T-shirt, because, you know, when you've got a belly, you got to buy shirts that are a little too big for you. They're kind of baggy. They don't fit everywhere, because you're trying to hide the belly. And I don't have a belly to hide anymore. It's gone, and it has not returned, thanks to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. You know, to me, the two amazing things about Coastal Weight Loss Secret isn't just that I lost the weight. It's how effortless it was to lose the weight without exercise and all of that, without pills, without injections. But the other thing is how effortless it has been to keep the weight off. And if you hear me talk, you guys see me on YouTube. You see I've kept the weight off. And you hear how I was talking earlier to a caller Saturday night. I went to McDonald's and had the 2 cheeseburger value meal, large, with large fries and a large Coke. And I've still kept the weight off without any pills, without any injections. You know, because with Coastal Weight Loss Secret, Dr. Zuckerman, he's reset my metabolism. And keeping the weight off has been effortless. And you can see I'm still eating foods I would normally eat. Give them a call and schedule your no-charge consultation, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll take our break, come back with the Gold Report, and be right back.
Hello.
Hey, it's Brian. Okay, we just over a minute and we'll be back.
Okay.
Okay, so stand by.
Thank you.
All right, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with our first gold and precious metals report of the new week. William Youngerman, how are the metals starting off this week?
Metals are starting off a little bit lower after a nice gains on Friday. Friday we saw gold close up $40.10 at $4,829.40 the ounce after trading in a range of $46.77 on the low all the way up to $4,890. Silver, which was up to $83.17 on Friday, closed at $80.70. That was up $2.40. Platinum gained $17 on the week at $2,100, and palladium was up $7 on Friday, closing out the day at $15.42. A little bit of profit taking today, and a lot of news coming around concerning the war in Iran, and that has caused the markets to come back down a little bit. Gold trading overnight in a range as low as $47.36 and as high as $48.23, and right now we're at $4,806.10 the ounce. That's down $23.30. Silver down $1.25 at $79.45. Platinum down $30 at $2,070. And palladium down $22 at $1,520 the ounce. So gold at $4,805, not too bad.
Yeah, and silver is just under 80. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't know how you can use down in that sentence with these numbers. It just doesn't compute to me. I know it's down for the day right now so far at the opening, but these are spectacular numbers. And anytime you hear down, that means the metals are on sale. So can you tell people, William, if they can't make it into your shop and they want to lock in a price and do the transaction over the phone and through the mail, what's the process for that?
Yeah, we do. We ship all over the world, and all it is you pick up a phone, call our 800 number, lock in a price, wire the funds, and the coins or the precious metals are shipped out to you immediately by the next day.
Yeah, and it's insured, and your name and number don't go on any list, and you're not going to hear from salesmen down the road like these online places you see on TV. And, of course, you get a good deal on your metals always with William Youngerman. Give him a call. He opens up at 10 a.m., toll-free, 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010. And if you can, stop in his shop in Boca at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. All right, William Youngerman, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, you too. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. Let's go back to the phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Rocco from West Palm Beach.
Hey, Rocco.
I got a question to ask about the socialist movement that's going on in this country. I understand our freedom of speech, but isn't socialism going against our Constitution?
Well, I don't know. What socialist are you talking about?
Well, Zoran Mandami, this whole democratic socialist movement that's going on in our country.
Yeah. Well, you had to be more specific. So what are they doing to limit free speech that you're talking about? I'm no fan of Mamdani. Don't get me wrong.
No. I'm not saying they're limiting free speech. The fact that it is actually starting a socialist movement.
Well, this is what you got to understand. Okay, now Mamdani is different in New York. Mamdani is not about socialism, liberalism, Democrat Party. He's about turning New York City into Londonstan. Okay, and and Mamdani doesn't. You know, people are making a big deal about this $30 million People's Grocery Store. He doesn't care about any of this stuff. The buses, nothing. He just wants. He's trying to grow Islam in New York City, and there's an old saying: "So goes New York, so goes the country."
Yes.
And that's them.
From New York to Florida.
Yes.
Because of all the BS that was going up.
But it's never been this bad.
In the legality of it, isn't socialism going against our Constitution?
No, you can be anything.
To take root.
Well, there's a famous quote from Ronald Reagan where he quotes the head of the Communist Party Ronald Reagan, he says the American people will never accept communism, but if you call it socialism, they'll accept every last tenet of it. It's a very famous quote from President Reagan, and he was quoting the head of the Communist Party USA. So, you know, the socialists are not socialists; they're really communist. You know, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and all of it. And
I lived in a socialist country.
Which one?
And I know what it means.
Which one?
I lived in Italy.
Oh.
For 6 years.
Okay.
Yes. So I know what it means to have government control, to be pulled over at any time, to have the Italian Department of Finance ask for your receipt when you come out of a store. Now, it doesn't happen every time you go shopping, but it can happen. And you have to have those matching receipts.
Really? When you leave a store?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Department of Finance. Yeah. People don't know what they're asking for when they're talking about socialism, because they read it in a book and they think it's all pretty and oh yeah, the people all get the same pension and stuff like that. My mom was hospitalized because she had a tumor. She had to wait 2.5 months for the one and only specialist in Italy to come down and do her surgery. Because why become a specialist in something where you retire, you're going to get the same pension as the person who speaks.
Well, the people, there's two types of people that like socialism and communism. One are just young people and bums, all right? They just want free stuff, and don't want to work. And then, but if you look at the leaders, who are the top Democratic socialists in the country? Mamdani, Bernie Sanders, and AOC. What do all three of them have in common?
Hamburger and all of that
well,
be thrown in
but what do they all three have in common? Bernie Sanders, Mamdani, and AOC. What do all three of them have in common other than being Democratic socialist?
AOC is young and
no,
trying to.
They're all of them. All three of them are multimillionaires.
Yeah, now
all the leaders are millionaires, and even if you go to in the days of Castro and his henchmen were all rich. Same thing in the Soviet Union. All the leaders of the party were rich. Yeah. So
it's a socialist society where all the oligarchs get to make the decisions for the people down at the bottom.
That's right. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. Call me again.
You got it.
All right. Take care. Take care. Yep. He escaped New York. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. Happy Monday there.
Yes.
Chris from Pompano.
Hey, Chris.
I just wanted to comment real quick. I mean, 100%. I like what you said about the, the Save America Act and the ID versus, voter fraud deal. Because, every now and then I have a little fun with it. And, and you can kind of get a sense of some of the customers around. But Walgreens, my neighborhood Walgreens there in Pompano, I had a little fun the other day. They card you for everything that you need, age identification, especially like beer, wine, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they carded me and said, "Wait, whoa, what are you doing? I'm black. No ID. What's going on?"
Oh, really? You
said, and they do that for everyone because they can't complete the transaction and liability and all that. So they're laughing. I said, "Yeah, can you imagine going through no ID, all this business?" So listen, 100% of the people, well, maybe 98.9, but they're on board with this. Like I said, it's a no-brainer. It should have been a done deal. But it's 100% voter fraud. I mean, why? Who can go through life without ID for any,
You can't go through life without ID. You know, Kash Patel said over the weekend, there's some big arrests that are coming, named people involving the election. And believe me, those people know they're on to them because they interview witnesses and take depositions and stuff. And all of a sudden, there's all this trash reporting about Kash Patel being a drunk and doing all this kind of stuff. And that gives me an indication that he's telling the truth, that there are some arrests coming in the aftermath of Pam Bondi's firing. I hope he's right. I mean, we really need to,
Exactly.
you know, we need to see some high-profile household name arrest of these corrupt Democrats.
It doesn't make sense. And speaking of that, I throw in real quick, Omar. I mean, come on. I know you know about the accountability. They're not really held accountable, but this is so obvious as well. That was clearly money laundering and business fronts for the for the monies that they're all of a sudden worth now. And yeah, come on, that's another scam.
That's right. That's right.
Fake winery and all that, because that's the same model they use for the other ones in Minnesota stealing the money. And I'm all for not having immigrants. But not being representatives of us nationally.
You know what I really think though, all this racial stuff that they do. When I've noticed this in the last 10 years a lot. Things used to be, blacks and whites were pretty separate years ago. Everything's like almost everything. When I say everything is integrated, segregation ended long ago, but you see black people in places you don't normally see with white people. The whole country is integrated. Every other couple is interracial these days, everywhere you go. And, you know, it's like what Rush says with the Democrats of that old playbook that, black people don't have driver's licenses. I think most black people are pretty fed up with this condescending rhetoric from the Democrats towards them.
They are. It's insulting. I hear it all the time. I have more fun with them. They're like, yeah, they didn't laugh at all.
Yeah.
So, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, listen, I got to run, but I appreciate the call. All right. Appreciate it. Now, do you suffer from neuropathy? Call Lighthouse Medical. You know, we found Lighthouse Medical out of necessity. Steve had neuropathy so bad he couldn't move. And we had one of our cruises coming up, and we found Lighthouse Medical. He went in, he got the treatment, they rid him of his neuropathy. And here we are over 3.5 years later, and his neuropathy has not returned. It really is amazing. Lighthouse Medical can help you with your neuropathy no matter where you are located, all right? And the work they do is incredible. I've seen it not just with Steve Kane, but with many of our listeners, who see relief after the very first treatment. And Lighthouse Medical can help rid you of your neuropathy no matter where you're located in the world. Even if you're local and you can't make it into their office in Pompano, that's okay. Call them. They understand if you have neuropathy, it may be impossible for you to get out. And also, if you have a family member or a loved one with neuropathy, you call them too. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about him here on the Steve Kane Show so you could take advantage of the no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642. And online, lighthousemedical.com. Now, the rest of you on hold, hang in there. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. taking your calls. And thanks so much. And I didn't even get to 10% of my show prep today. This was one of the biggest news events that we've had in a long, long time. Just news event after news event over the weekend. Usually the news kind of takes a break over the weekend. This weekend, it was the opposite. But we'll have more, I promise you, tomorrow. My name's Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. All right, we're clear, guys. Now, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. And everyone else, please, if you're already subscribed, like the video. Please like the video. Liking the video is how the channel gets recommended to people that have not yet found me. So please, before you go, like the video so more and more people can find out about the program. All right, that's how we grow. Like the, and after you like the video, if you get that hype function made available, please do that. as well. That helps so much. But don't leave without liking the video. All right. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for watching. I'll see you this afternoon on my podcast. All right. Take care.